And I put the slide in first because it's some grave of somebody. So who is it, Dad?
It must be some of my relatives down yonder in Mississippi in Amite County, around Liberty and Gloucester, where Dad
But
was.
that's not your granddad.
I do not know for sure who Uncle Billy is. Do you, Mom?
That's Uncle Billy, and this was that old house we visited, and when we went in, the staircase, the staircase was worn smooth, and upstairs they had the most beautiful bedroom furniture that had been built in that house. Huge, massive stuff.
All right, so this is Mississippi?
Yeah, this
All
is
right,
in
we're carrying on
Mississippi.
now.
No, well, we have to give a little bit on the other son.
Dad, we can't spend a minute on this.
Well, about the circuit riders?
No, non-relatives who carry on.
Okay, well, this is my dear mother, Vivian Shute Thompson, born in June 11th, 1890, passed away April 5, 1943. And this grave is up there in between Jamestown and Chautauqua, New York. Good old Gramps, my dad, nearly 50 years service for the Lord in India.
That would be one of the trains, Dad?
Well, yes, that's a local train, typical of the Indian trains that they still have today. Now, I'll have to put this comment in here. They wondered how those cakes got up in the wall. Well, the cows in India are powerful. but what it is, the Indians use dung cakes for both fuel and for partly, bolstering their houses. And when we visited a clinic outside of Delhi, more toward, maybe 40, 50 miles from Delhi, going toward the Punjab, northwest, Dad took me out into one of the villages that had been severely hit during the partition of India when it got its independence. And I believe that in this case it happened to be a Muslim village, and many of the Muslim people had been slaughtered by the Hindus.
Oh.
Right.
Well,
so
this is
we're
nowadays.
obviously talking Hindu here because of the pig.
Yeah,
well,
right.
but this is nowadays.
Okay.
That's right, the Hindus. Very good shot of Dad and my stepmother, Emma.
Who was like a mother.
She is the only mother, really, grandmother that my children knew.
Now this has got to be India.
It is India, and I believe it's Delhi, is it not?
It is
Battery
Delhi.
Lane, Delhi,
4
where Dad
Battery
was
Lane.
district
And
superintendent.
I must have been expecting Jim.
Is
Why
that
did you
so?
say me?
Because that was our first.
I don't think we went there when
No, but
when I
Jim
was
was born
expecting
in
Doug.
'54. We hadn't gone over by that time, had we?
Yeah. Well,
You don't look expectant there.
I am. That's a maternity dress.
Who's the Khan?
The old chap, a little dark.
Is that by a redwood
that
tree?
Was you, Dad. Now here you are on a camel.
Also in India.
At the clinic.
Is this India?
This is India, and it's at the clinic near
That was
where.
founded
That
in
was
honor.
founded by whom, Mommy?
It was founded in honor. There were 2 clinics. One was founded in honor of your parents, and the other was founded in honor of your father's parents.
Wow,
Who's
look
the
at that
Khan
handsome
Sahib?
man.
Where?
Tell
What?
you.
Pakistani, Tom Hussain.
Look at that.
We call him Tom Hussain.
He's a fine-looking guy.
No,
I passed.
I see David. I see David.
I passed my good looks on to my
Now,
boys.
Dad, what river is this? Is
This
this Nilo
is the
or Indus?
this is the Abba Sindh, the Father Indus, and it's near an area which is now flooded by the big. At that time, it was built. The Tarbela Dam was the largest earth-filled dam in the world, and the famous truck.
Now we can't focus this any better, but I thought
It's
it was a
all
good
right.
shot of you in the pickup.
Very
And
good shot.
I think it's still FPH, Frontier Province,
For-
H408.
I believe you are right. And
With the caution left-hand drive.
408 is 408. So why was known 408?
Now, Dad, this has to be a Gunga Din shot.
It is. It was a
And
Gunga Din shot at
This is
MCS.
Murray. You're right.
Was
This
it
is
MCS? Yeah, Murray Christian School.
Dad did a great Gunga Din, and when the missionaries...
That's your
would-
dad?
Yeah, that's my dad. See, when the missionaries...
But-
would-
but I
they'd
put-
have
I
like
put on a
talent
show.
party. They'd have a talent party, and Dad would always do Gunga Din.
Gunga Din by Rudyard Kipling that Jim himself can give very well. And
That's
he's
his brother.
named after my brother Jim, who gave Gunga. And Gunga Din, this guy can give as no one could have given it. Jim learned it. Oh, that's when Mom got after me with the
Now,
scissors.
Dad, you look so salty there.
I mean, I'm glad it was then in those days I was salty.
Look at that.
Well,
Oh, you know where this is?
But
This is in Alexandria.
well, which is this fakes? Which one? The one in the middle?
One on the left.
Not the one in the middle?
What, Brianna? You could
Do you know what the Greek letters say?
Pi, epsilon, what?
Five.
Exactly. And that was our,
Dad, your beard looks terrible here, sir.
well, I know. But the mom went after me with scissors and I ran over the hillside. This is Tandiani, if you remember Tandiani.
Really?
And she went after me and I was really running away from her.
Well, is that a Bob Jones?
It's my first
shirt
little
yet?
kind of a little thing, growth I tried.
Your first little facial effort?
Yeah.
He promised that he would shave it off before we went down.
I'm overlooking a very needy area of our country there in Pakistan. I would say that probably, is this the, I'm not sure exactly where that
It's
scene
not the
is.
Abbottabad Valley, is it?
I
I
was
think this
wondering.
is
I was gonna
Bararcote, not, what was it?
Oh, yeah, this is the
There's
Azioni.
Douglas, there's Doug.
This would be the first three-generation
Yes,
shot.
look.
Mhm.
First one that I could find. of
That's
the three
right.
generations.
Look at that. How old was
And-
Doug there?
Probably about,
Having been born December
8 months,
52, you
uh,
guess.
okay, let me think,
December 52, 11 months, or 12 almost.
about a year old.
And that was taken when Dad came over. Did he come with them at the time?
She didn't
Can't
come the
remember.
first
This is
time, that's
Elizabeth, I think.
Elizabeth.
So that's,
it
this is even earlier than the last shot.
La mamma di Cristina.
Oh,
Look at Grandpa. Look at what a handsome.
boy, what handsome pants.
He had some hair.
He still does.
What is the
had
animal
some hair at
hanging
the
up there in
front.
the back?
Yeah, what is that?
That's a person.
Pakistani.
Oh,
yeah,
Pakistani. Oh. Oh, you've got to know about this one because this was the start of the ministry up on the tribal area. I have to say very quickly, before the British left India, that is when it was all India, you could not go beyond the point of these two brothers who were Khans, or chieftains, but somewhat civilized, if I may use that word, more oriented to the Western way of life. And this was the outpost, and that is tribal area, still is to my knowledge, and back there, the Kaladaka, Torgar in Pashto, or Black Mountains in English, which are still tribal area, but on up due north to my right, as I'm pointing here looking at it,
Dad, you can point up on the slide.
I can.
Did you? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, how long on the line do I
Well,
have?
you don't need it, just shadow it.
Oh,
Dad.
just shout it.
Sit down and shadow it.
Oh, I.
Stick your hand out in the street.
Well, that's
There
that's
you
not,
go.
oh, hey, that's my lefty here. I'm ambidextrous. Up this way, which is off the screen, is tribal area that became merged into it, became part of Pakistan. And so we would, Vern Rock, whom I called today, just remember on the phone, he and I went up and we began opening up the area so we could get the foothold of the gospel in this section. And these two brothers were very friendly to us at that particular time. There was pressure put on them because they did become friendly to us, and there was a bit of
Do they become
aggravation.
ostracized from society?
If they get into too much trouble, yeah.
They were also somewhat politically minded.
Who were they, honey, and what was
They're the
state?
Khan brothers. I forget
What's
the
the
names
name
right
of
now.
that?
Okay. We
But
can't have 5
the
minutes.
town was Oogie. I can't take too long.
Now, is that Rasmussen?
No.
As I look at it, Dad.
On the
you
left?
Look at it closer.
The left or the guy with the hat?
Dad, that's you with the hat.
Okay, no, that is not Rasmussen there on the left.
He's a
That's a
Pakistani.
Pakistani, yeah.
Yeah.
And the shot is from the hill. This must be Darband.
No, that's the Abbottabad Valley.
Yeah, I know, but I mean the mountain from where we're looking down. Was that just the little pine hill, or we were higher?
Sort of on the Gardihababullah side
Well,
of Abbottabad there.
No, I think what we are looking at, this is near the little mountain above Abbottabad on what would be the southeast side, southwest side, looking due north across Abbottabad. Akbar, a great fella, great, well, I know.
He was a good-looking guy, wasn't he?
Yeah, look at
Akbar
him.
was, and he became a Christian before his wife. Another young chap, this guy was one of my first contacts before going up into the area of Kohistan, mountain land, and he was a Kohistani boy studying in the government college in Abbottabad. Lovely chap. And these three Khans are there in the area along,
Two Khans and a visitor.
yeah, right.
Now, I threw this one in because I thought it was you down at the bottom there.
It
Is
is.
that-
It is.
It is I.
Who's standing?
It is I. I'm not sure. He must have been part of the tourist
So
outfit.
we're just like
We
back in
used
the
to get-
States now.
This is the City of the Rock in Chattanooga, Choo-Choo down below, isn't it?
Well, it looked to me like
Yeah.
it was that general area.
So we're back now in Pakistan,
Yeah.
and is that the old munshi we hired locally there in the sun next to me? And he didn't turn out that well as far
Teacher.
as quality. But this servant fellow that we saw earlier with me sitting up on the mountain, where did we hire him? I was trying to remember, honey, which.
He must have been with you in Oogie. I didn't recognize
Do you remember Ed
him.
Thompson? He and I were in college together. He came out with a couple guys to try to look for an area to put some Japanese missionaries in. And Ed came out in the 60s, I believe it was, early
Any
60s.
relation to you?
None at all, but we sat next together alphabetically in college. What can we say about this one with a good old plow? Not sure where. Oh, this is the place there in Haripur. Remember, honey, with the Weck fella that had that. That's the guy on the right. Ashby, was it?
Oh, yeah, John
Yeah,
Ashby.
John
sure
Ashby.
Are
is.
these mountain climbers? down
These
there?
are the mountain climbers that went up to Nanga Parbat. And
And
I
tell
use
'em-
this illustration
yeah.
of how one lost his life climbing a mountain and how many of us do so little. And they only go to the mountains because it's there. They do scientific work, but they're not interested in, they're not Christians, obviously, as far as we know. And
But
so
they're willing to risk their life.
they're willing to risk their life. And it was up there in Kohistan. One guy said, if you want to know about that area of Kohistan, you got to go. Hardly anything is known about that.
There's
Now,
John
do you
Zeb.
see me and my friend Jahan Zeb Khan?
We see him.
Yes.
And
yeah.
with a little topi there, but just to the left of that with the glasses, do you see Enevoldsen? He is a Danish
No.
Pathan missionary.
The white hat?
White hat with the glasses
Oh, yeah, right there.
is Jens Enevoldsen from Denmark. He did Pashto well. He could smoke the hookah along with the rest of these guys.
And we just
and I
heard
got
from him a year
criticized for
ago.
that. Yeah, but
Associate with him
but
a
he
lot.
loved the Lord, and even if he smoked and all, and it didn't bother me,
That's right.
he loved the Lord, wanted to reach these people for Christ, spoke their language. Very historic letter. This is the guy I called just now, today.
Rock.
Is this
Vern Rock is he. This is he. You get all the miles from Balakot. In those days, the road was only built up to really about Kagan and a little farther Naran. And then finally, from the Babusar Pass, BIS Pass, Babusar Pass, which is about 13,000 feet.
It's not giving fractions of a mile to Gilgit, is it?
Yeah, it has to be.
209.5?
Oh, it has to be. And now they have built a connecting road all the way up the Indus Valley into China itself.
What's the year here, Dad, do you think? 50s?
50s, yeah, early 50s. Because Vern came out a year after we did, so he was there our first term together. Good old Akbar, he went on some trips with us, and he was putting his life on the line
Wow.
more than I was, because Akbar was a Christian and a Pakistani and a convert from Islam, and they are threatened. In one of our villages,
Doug.
Doug's sitting to the far left.
That's not Doug.
That is he.
Absolutely, that's Doug.
That is he.
The
With
big
next to
problem-
Akbar and me, and two local chaps.
I understand
We have
why
this.
They're not invited to this thing, Dad?
That's right. But there, look at the Thanksgiving dinner we have there. Look at that Thanksgiving dinner with the tarkari, the curries there, and rice. They put out everything for us.
For the men.
For the
Yes,
men, oh
only
yeah,
for
it's
the
all
men.
separated. A friend of mine whose name was Togatologlu, he was a mixture of Turk and Greek, a great good mixture, and worked as a missionary under the Sudan Interior Mission in Al Aden in Aden, now part of South Yemen. That was an American missionary conference. Dad and I and
Is
some
this
local.
Noogie, Dad?
I believe this is on top of our hut in Oogie, where Vern,
Yes.
where Vern and I had this little hut down below Vern Rock, and we started.
And is that the old chap up there?
That
with
is
you?
my own wonderful father,
Aw.
G. Barney Thompson.
G for.
G for George, as well as G. Richard, myself is George, but he chose Barney and I chose Richard. This is called Buttergram, and later we'll tell you that Mom thought I sent a Buttergram
I
from,
need an explanation on your various hats. Why do you wear those hats? And do they
just
represent-
because there are so many varieties,
Uh-huh.
and the head must be covered in Pakistan.
Uh-huh.
Both,
Does it represent status?
not necessarily. Now, have you ever heard of Swat State? And I don't mean the famous song, but there's the Wali of Swat right in the middle, and I believe the Wali Ahad, the heir apparent, to our right.
What's SWAT state?
It's a closed state of the gospel. And Mansara here's with Ed Thompson arriving with his bags or leaving. I'm not
Stick
sure
for
which
the
one.
dogs, Dad?
Oh, I'm a stick man. You use it. And a little boy up there, probably a noogie, giving me a shave. Now you get the works. When you get a shave, you can get a head massage. That worked right in. And you get your nose
Same
clipped.
price, huh?
Nose clipped, yeah, for about a quarter.
Notice how
And,
dark he is. He was as
Dad, you
dark
got
as
no hair there. Look
Pakistanis.
at over your ears there.
Well, he just happened to
But
pull
he
my
started
head
to
back,
get
giving
skin
the.
cancer, so he
Yeah,
won't.
but look at your.
get
look at
suntan.
your-
Have we gone into my scar? Do we need to take time for the
Tiger
history of
thing?
that? My left cheek scar. That's why my
Here
sideburns
we
grew
are
into a beard.
pretending to carry a heavy load.
This is no pretension. We started out carrying our
50
stuff.
feet from the house.
Okay, I knew that was coming.
And I like
But-
the stoop over look, you know, like
Well,
the stooped over.
it was.
This way.
They are 50 feet from the house. He and Vern Rock.
We'll have to tell you about the night that they
There's a
forgot.
story with that bedding thing
Let's
too.
hear it.
Okay, Vern and Daddy had gone on a trek, and
This trek, this
Daddy
very
was
trek.
one that would say, "I will not take my bedding." He must have Vern's there because he wouldn't take his bedding. He said, "I'll sleep in the
And the
Pakistani
native
bedding."
stuff.
And the Pakistanis have a way of spreading their
Childhood
charpais,
recovering.
their beds with covering. And in the middle of the night, and Vern said, "No way, I'm sleeping in my own sleeping bag." In the middle of the night, Dad woke up to find Vern with his head into the sleeping bag with a flashlight, being absolutely eaten up by bed bugs. And he had to,
Vern was or Dad?
Vern
No,
was,
Vern
Dad
I
was
was
fine.
sleeping. I was snoring
Because,
like a
yeah,
horse.
because, well, what it is, the beds are so infested, you see. But the way the Pakistanis put down their bedding, bed bugs won't go down and then up, I guess, or something
That's
like
what the natives
this.
say. But
And
by
so
the way-
anyway, they
They'd be
didn't.
the ones to know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
and
didn't.
by the way, I can't spoil this one. I love
This
this
is our
song.
baby Elizabeth.
I love this one with my dear sweet wine. Now you know why I married her, don't you? So
What
pretty.
a face, look at that.
Yeah, isn't that a sweet? Isn't it? Look at the two faces now.
This was the old Aya.
Yeah, tell about that,
And I
honey.
tell you, the first time I didn't speak a word of Urdu, and when I was expecting Elizabeth, here I was, just arrived in the country, And I didn't feel like going to church. It was a cold day, and the church was very cold, and we hadn't been there very long. And she came over to me and started to massage me. And I thought, what is this? Because I had never heard of this before. And she knew I didn't speak, and so she just kept nodding her head. Shall I do this? Well, they do that for anything that's wrong, and for pregnant women. And if you have a headache, they will devour your head. They'll massage your head in such a way. Really, it's very good.
Very
Ask
comforting,
Jim.
very,
Love it.
It's
Therapy.
wonderful.
it's a great therapy.
wonderful.
Oh, look at Aunt Elizabeth. Look at the baby.
Well, what's the live hair moving around? Took off.
And she
Isn't
didn't
that
have
a
any.
beautiful
This
shot?
was her first
I used to love
Easter.
these pictures.
And she didn't have any hair until she was 2, and now it's so thick.
She's got beautiful hair.
Yeah,
That's her first Easter.
yeah. And this, I think, must be.
This couldn't be Elizabeth.
All right, no, this is I.
Yeah,
and-
but I know, honey.
That's
Yeah,
Daddy.
but
All right, just
David
hang
said
on.
it's so ugly it has to be he.
No, I said it was not one of us. I don't think it's one of our kids.
Oh, yes, it is. Yeah, I think it's
Well, definitely not
Bob.
me. Let's go Doug or Bob.
I think
Mom
it's
was
Bob.
pretty ugly.
Well,
it
that
can't
must be a, that would be a USC.
It's a USC.
Yeah, USC, and she'd never go bathing like that over there.
No, it's a US scene. It's got to be Bob.
Is this you, huh?
That's
Yeah, that's his eye.
David. Yeah.
There's
Is that David or Jim? See, that's
Oh,
back in the States
dear.
again. We're going back
Yeah,
and
let's
forth.
throw that one away.
Oh, tell about this one, honey.
That's what I still suffer from today.
Well, that's not your sinus thing.
That's
I
they
thought that
did
was
the
a
same.
bee thing.
No, this was
Bee sting.
this was a tooth, an infected tooth, but they did a sinus puncture.
Who's
this
the kid?
one is definitely Jamis.
You think so?
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
Who?
Me.
James.
Jamis.
James. And with the Pakistani teacher teaching
This
Jenny
is
Urdu and me
Elizabeth.
Pashto. He was from the frontier.
And there's David,
Yeah,
Is he the looker of the all?
pretty studly.
and that's Elizabeth. That's in front of
No,
the
that's not
Anglican
Elizabeth.
church.
Is this back to Sis again?
Yeah, the Anglican church there.
Beautiful valley we had, didn't we? That's all closed land up to there, to the gospel, by the snow peaks. We were probably the northernmost missionaries to that closed area.
Oh, here we were.
That's Bob.
That's definitely.
Don't
Uh,
you think, Mom?
He still looks.
Yeah, where were we on
Not
the
with any
picnic,
chicken
honey?
left, that wouldn't be Bob.
Where were we on the picnic? That was on the
This
banks.
is one
It
of
was
my
down.
favorites.
Yes, it is. It's
That's
beautiful.
Elizabeth.
Well, she's got a lot of hair there.
Oh no, it can't be Elizabeth. Elizabeth didn't have any
Well,
hair.
that could be
This is
me.
probably you.
Oh, that looks like Taxila to me. It's in the plains. It's not up in the
then
mountains. That's
it's-
Taxila, like.
This is Jim, I think. That's
It's gotta be Jim's.
That's
yeah.
the same dad looking all young and everything.
Yeah. This has got.
I look
No,
like my
but-
boy. It's there, and I love that
Oh, it's a
tie.
pink blanket.
That was a great tie.
No, it's a.
Well, but we used what we had. Dave came home in a dress, as we all know.
That story's
No,
never
you
been
know what?
confirmed.
This is
I've seen the
Elizabeth.
photos.
Is it?
She had more hair than you thought.
Wait a minute. Is this Elizabeth?
That's got to be Elizabeth. Look
This
how
is
young you guys are.
Elizabeth.
It's all
This is
Taxila.
Elizabeth.
Dad looks like he's 14.
Tell them again that our first three were born our first term and in the mission hospital, Presbyterian Mission Hospital, Taxila, before our hospital was.
Now, is
Developed.
this Pakistan?
This is out in front of Wild House, right at the front entrance there, on the main road, with the peaches on our right, and the driver, I suppose, on the left. Had we just come, or just no? That's
Maybe when we
maybe
moved
he had
from
just
that.
arrived because from Sister born in
All
Taxila.
right, I was
Actually the same
expecting
place,
Doug
right?
here.
That's the tree right in front
Yeah.
of us.
Right, exactly at the entrance. And the, up until very recently, at least through the time we were there, they were calling all the mission stations American Mission. Well, then they changed it to, you know, just Mission or something of that, or Christian. And I thought that was better, Christian hospital, Christian school. You
He's
sh-
looking good there.
He is.
well,
And
I
you know
have-
what? All that was acceptable. All that outfit.
Definite sis shot.
Muddy, is
Yeah.
this Comuddy in,
Yeah, this
in
is
the little
Murray.
cottage? What
Yeah,
is that
but,
little? Dingley Dell.
No, it wasn't Parvez.
Butterways Cottage.
And here's Ruby Patsold.
Ruby
Jan.
Patsold, whom we have just,
What's the ship?
it's probably the Queen Elizabeth.
Did you
No,
guys
no, we-
sail
yeah,
together,
we went
or
out-
is this
yeah.
just agreed?
Yes.
On the Queen Elizabeth.
That's
It
worth the
may have been
story.
the Cilicia, honey.
You tell us, well, did she continue on with this
realize
from?
Yeah,
out
she
there
stayed
with
with us.
See, I
Yeah, we
married
went
them.
out
One of the two
together.
mission families, our marriages I ever performed was Ruby Patsold, who came out before Len about a year or so.
She
But
was
this,
Ruby
it's worth the
Sears.
story. Do you know this one?
Is that Uncle Jim?
I'll have to give another guess. You're close.
Uncle Wayne.
Yeah.
Uncle Wayne,
And Roger.
and is that little Roger?
Uh-huh.
And that's Wayne's first wife, Pat, right? Second
Yeah.
wife.
Second one.
Second wife, Pat. And Uncle Wayne now is, see, I was the middle of three brothers.
Who's deluxe
Three.
accommodations? at the-
That's
This-
when he was MC. Now listen to this, friends. From Italiano, you know, the Holiday on Ice? My brother Wayne was the MC of that for about 10 years. And he was playing, as he puts it, in Indianapolis, the largest, see, he's gone on the slide now. That was the largest stadium he played in, and smallest was Norfolk, and I saw both. Anyway.
Look at the
all that.
bougainvillea in bloom.
In India, this is India and 4 Battery Lane. That's the address. What was that? What was the chuckle?
We have 3 children.
So we had 3. So had we gone?
Red cap?
Uh-huh.
Wearing the red cap.
These 3 were the Pakistanis.
We just had 2 here.
And
There's
Emma.
Grandma. Auntie Emma.
That's and
Too dark to dwell.
yeah, it's
Graham
okay.
should have lengthened his tie a little bit.
Who can guess what pass this was? It was very
Khyber
famous.
Pass.
Khyber Pass in history. We're on the eastern Afghan, toward the Afghan side. It's not quite to the border, but close to the top before you go down.
You
Into
didn't
the
get there in
Afghan
that
side.
Volkswagen, did you?
Yeah, we, Dad
we had
drove
to
that.
borrow the hospital one, didn't we?
Yeah,
We didn't have a car then, I think.
and we had a picnic.
Oh. Mom, Jim is the one in front.
Yeah.
Uh-huh, yeah. We loved picnics, and
Yeah,
they're the
our
3
kitty
of
boy,
them.
was Sis that much taller than the
Would
boys?
this be Bexley then?
Uh-huh,
this
this
is
is right in
Bexley
front
out
of
in front.
Bexley.
Oh, yeah.
Why
I'm
was
being
she?
thought of right
Why
there
was
a
she
little
so much taller? Sis
I'm
was
being
that
thought
much.
of, right, Mom?
Let's see, when did I have you? In
Who's that
September.
super good-looking guy on the left in
Oh,
front?
yes, look at that.
Yeah,
Pull up those shorts a little more, Jim.
I got short pants.
It
right.
looks to me like he had an XYZ there.
Doug's always a bucker, though.
What? Mom, the
XYZ.
top looking- Oh, Mom.
I didn't want to ask about the XYZ. Keep it going.
Did you check it out, Dave?
Yeah.
This was just before we came home because Elizabeth got that
This would
pixie
be a nice
haircut.
picture, but
There's
it's too dark to
Jim.
dwell.
Well, you get close.
Famous
It's not.
shot, Dad.
This
Love
is
it.
when we were
That's the
going
point.
back to Pakistan in 1957, and Elizabeth they took her down and fed her a hot fudge sundae to get a picture of her, and then interviewed her, and then we got aboard the ship, and she ran ahead of us, and lo and behold, the newspaper lady caught up with her, and they asked her the newspaper lady asked her questions and said something about, you've traveled a lot, I guess, and Elizabeth said, yes, I guess you could say that. And I thought, any kid at 7 years old who's crossed the ocean twice, yeah, she's traveled a lot.
Oh.
This is typical.
It's overexposed, but I think
We
that's
couldn't
It's
keep
worth
'em
it.
out of our
Don't throw it
bed.
out. It was worth it.
such a class.
Sometimes
glad
we
you
had
didn't
all
throw 'em
5
out.
kids in our bed.
You see Auburn a little bit? In
Yeah.
Elizabeth, look at the smile.
Uh-huh.
I see Auburn.
Uh-huh.
Now, this
The
is somebody's
sun was
birthday.
so
I think
bright.
it's mine.
'Cause
And I
you're
think it's
squaffing
my
away.
second.
Looks like it.
You're
It's your
squaffing away, I
second.
know.
There are 3
Well, but I
candles.
look too.
We got them all hooked on chocolate like the old
There might
chap.
not be a
No,
third
I
candle,
think it's
but-
his second birthday because we came home.
And it's a
He
little
was just
chip.
2, yeah, and we were getting ready to come home. He was just 2.
Good old Gramps made it to Murray. I'd forgotten about that.
And this would have just been before our second furlough.
Doug's looking sharp. I mean, just plain sharp.
He
Yeah,
has
right
a-
in the center.
He is, yeah.
Examining my zipper.
Where's Bob?
You're covering the
He's on the
strategic.
left. Uh-oh, she wasn't very happy with
Now,
this
whose
one.
motorcycle was
Carl
this?
Davis's, I'm sure.
Or DeHart's, maybe?
No, the kids were too little. DeHart's weren't out yet. There we are
And
with
Zelma,
Aunt
not at
Zelma.
Now,
Bexley,
what's the
but
story about that dress?
Jamestown, New York,
Well, see, she
where I graduated from high
had
school.
had such a fit when you were coming along that we didn't want to tell her about Bob or the next baby
Jim was
coming.
along.
So I had bought an extra size in my dress, and when I went to see her, and we saw her in, must have been about June or July. I was 6 months pregnant, and
She couldn't tell.
and she said later she did think I'd gained a lot of weight.
Aunt Z, you know, I still remember clear
There's
as
a
a
worried
bell.
She-
kid in the middle.
No, I think you're beautiful.
She said that, well, she was just very upset to know I was going to have my third child. So when the fourth
was
one
Jim?
came, yeah. So when the fourth one came along, Dad just really told her that it was, quite frankly, a private matter, none of her business. But when the fourth one came along, we were reluctant to tell her, and she said, well, she had made up her mind after telling us off with the third one, she'd never say another word.
These are good
Well,
shots,
what's the
too.
quiver story?
That was on you,
Oh,
or
yeah,
who was that on?
it. Blessed is the man who hath his quiver full of them. And she said, it means arrows, not children. And there's our little Jimmy right there.
He takes the glory in the front and little, he's not a Trantham boy in the bottom, they're up in Zion now,
Yeah,
you know.
that's right. That's a
The
Trantham.
Tranthams, I should have brought their letter along,
And this
doggone
must
it.
have been a birthday party.
Yeah.
Oh, this was up in Brarcote.
Was it?
There's
Uh-huh.
been a lot of people. I mean, a lot
In
of
fact,
Yeah,
I
they
think
have the prayer
in fact,
day up there.
people so far.
there
They
he
used to
is.
rotate
This
around
was in
on a prayer
India.
day.
What a great shot.
This was over in India. And see, the poinsettias grow wild over there.
Wow,
And
Back
there
in
he
Ahmedabad, the
is,
headquarters
That's
station.
24 Pine View,
Pulling
right?
his
Wow.
sister's
Exactly,
hair.
24 Pine View, right on. What, who got us to smile?
what a nice shot.
We're, oh,
Yeah,
this is
what a
what Grandma does.
ragged,
Weird.
what a ragged, salty guy up there.
Gramps, I think, looked the same for the last 30 years of his life.
He held up well.
Why can't I lose some weight? My goodness, I wasn't.
There's little Kuthro. Is that Luke
I
Kuthro
wasn't
with
so
Jim?
fat there.
Good
Yeah, that's
night.
Could
Luke.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks like
Luke
that is
and
Luke.
Jim, boy, they were inseparable.
And their kids look
Look
just
at the
like their
camera.
dad. Back in India with a
Now, I
camel
was
thing,
expecting
remember?
Jim here.
You're riding a camel?
Yeah,
for your
and I was
birthday?
expecting Jim. And this camel groaned and
Mom was
groaned. when we
gravid
got-
during much of her early years.
Yeah, right. There
Jim
he
likes the
is.
foreground.
Jim, would you guys blow off of this one?
Certainly.
Certainly.
Just of Jim. you
This
are.
is Loretta in the back.
Yeah,
Loretta Kuthro.
Loretta Keith.
And we must have been
The good old
coming
trains,
home,
I tell you,
leaving,
they were great traveling.
Elizabeth looks like she is decked out there.
You know,
She was a beauty with her curls, I tell you.
I think this is when we came home for our first
That
furlough.
may
They
have
were
been
2, 3,
just-
and
yeah.
5. Yeah, see, this is aboard the ship.
Well, this is
This
Port
is in
Said.
Aden.
You remember
Yeah,
Port Said?
Said.
Port Said, the northern end of the Suez Canal.
Now this must have been when we were going back because Jim. Oh, I
I
don't
bought a watch
know.
in Aden for 3 pounds and I lost it on the ship and I didn't tell you for 2 years.
Oh, no.
But that was the second trip, Jim. The first trip
That's
was
the
when you
Suez. No,
captured.
by the way, that's the Suez Canal. So we were actually on the way through the canal.
Listen, I
This
have
guy
to tell you
Summers.
this, Jim.
What is this?
That you captured everybody's
This is at
attention.
Rock's place
I didn't
down.
tell this. He captured
but we're-
everybody's attention because he was only 2, and he talked just in sentences about anything. And he did not want to wear this life preserver, and he said, I don't want to wear it. I don't want to wear it. And everyone was trying to get his picture, and I mean, literally, everyone who had a camera was trying to get a picture of this child who was just yakking away and so tiny. It
Now
was
we
really cute.
tell quickly down. I forget Wanda Rock, the wife of the fella whom I called. It was her town. We've visited them because I remember we had this thing on top, And I must have waited to get this good background of this truck coming down in the background before we got our picture of our
On top of the
son.
car.
Just saman, all our saman we're traveling with. In central Illinois, that shot was. Back in
Probably
India.
something given to us to take back
Back in
overseas.
India then started the atomic bomb.
Mom, how long did you have glasses for?
Oh, I had glasses from high school, from college, but not all the time.
Jimmy.
This is the dress that Elizabeth hated because it itched her.
Oh, the lace, was her lace, her last name?
It was nylon, and she just hated it.
Hated it.
That's Judy Davis and Carl and Agnes and.
David, their
So
David.
this is before before Elizabeth was born.
This is Taxila, likely. And little David Davis down there has been our field chairman many
I
years.
saw Charlie in the ER the other day.
Said engage. Oh,
did you?
really?
Yeah, he brought in one of his kids. I stitched up one of his kids.
Oh,
did
my
you know who you
goodness.
were?
They're down in Venezuela.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't gain but 10 pounds with Elizabeth.
Well,
sick.
David
And
Davis
this was
is
just-
now one of our
That
big
was just
men in the
before
office.
Elizabeth was born. I didn't gain but 10 pounds.
Wow.
I was too sick.
Gramps.
I wasn't sick, but I
Boy,
kept
the sun was
losing
too
it.
hot for everybody in that shot. Terrific. Who lined them up?
Where is this with the round
I'd like to know where this tower is. I'm not sure where that shot was.
Peshawar, I'll bet.
Very likely could. Oh, Khanzab.
Oh,
That's the native Khan, the village chief's outfit.
Who's in your arms?
Me.
Is it Bob?
That's
Me.
Bob.
When did you have red hair, honey? Did you dye your
I
hair?
never
That is
put
me.
anything on my hair.
Undeniably me.
Now wait a minute. This is the one we got to figure out.
Well, since they're not us, let's not spend too much time on them.
One of them
You
should
know,
be.
one of them. It's the one on the right, Jim. That's you. The next
right.
one is a Pulliam. This is Lynn Karsgaard, and this is a what was a 60-year-old man that Milton. This is a Milton.
Far left. you
This
mean.
is a Milton. That's a Karsgaard. That's a Pulliam, and that's Jim.
Well, you're not saying what
I'm
direction
positive.
for the audio.
Jim is the guy that's pointing the finger to?
Okay, now this is down in Mississippi.
Is it back there again?
Him is the size of side PPI.
Nice.
Exactly.
And this is up in that church in.
Now, when did you touch the high-powered line?
Oh no, honey! You know this is that guy.
Where
You
is
remember
this?
who he
Electrical
is?
shortening.
Where was this farmer
He
shot
was a
taken?
pastor, and he had some problems.
Oh, mental problems. Up in
No,
Indiana?
he had another woman or something.
In Indiana or
and they
where?
got straightened out. It was in the corner of some state,
That is a serious static buildup.
and
Not Bell Run or any of those.
he had 6 children. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, we'll move
He
on.
ended up having.
Carry on, we're not
Very
sure.
non-family members there.
Aw.
They each have their caticle cap, their lambskin unborn
This is what they
lambskin
came
hat.
home in. That furlough.
They had all their rosy cheeks.
That's right.
Dad, for the environmentalists, how do they get that lambskin hat?
They eat the lamb after.
There you go.
They
Delicious
roll
lamb
the
Well,
use
there's
down
nothing
the
wrong. It's not American deal at all. This is Bararkot on the Kashmir border. We're just inside or along the border of Bararkot.
And it's our village house might have been. No, our
This was
village
an
house
outpost
too.
for the ministry into Kashmir, the part held by Pakistan. Carry on. And a farm in Indiana, right, honey?
Yeah, where the kids stayed while we went to annual conference.
Well, that's right.
We're closing in on the first
Well,
carousel.
why is
Now, this
Jameis?
is Schaefer's
Why is
wife.
Jameis? Everybody
That's
has.
Schaefer's wife, honey, Loretta
You
Schaefer.
probably, Dad, you
I
probably just
I have to have him in the sun. Want him in the sun, and of course they.
Yeah, he probably.
Well,
just
so was
bopped-
Doug. Doug having a hard time too.
He probably bopped his boat.
Timmy Rock and Elizabeth got rides on donkeys.
Who's this chubby chap?
This
Isn't that a
is
cute
it.
shot?
Yeah. This is that same farm.
Oh, is that up in the Kagan? That's when we were going up to the. This
Rest
is on the
house.
way up to.
Oh, it's Catherine.
the
that's
Indian,
Catherine.
the Indian Catherine
Catherine
teacher.
Peters.
Oh, I remember her.
Sure.
Did she go up to Gagan with us though?
She must have.
Now, do you know the verse I have up there?
For
In
all
the-
sin?
Yeah, well, no, by, oh,
Look at how
shoot.
much older the kids are here.
I know that thing
Jim,
by
that's
heart.
you by the tree.
It's the,
And that's Doug. That's David and Bob
Is
and
this on the way to
Elizabeth.
Oogie or?
It-
of whom I am chief. What is that verse?
Christ Jesus.
Christ Jesus came into the world to save sinners, whom I am chief. And how does that go? As years ago, oh man, I know that verse by
Timotheus,
heart.
isn't it?
But they don't like it on the back because that you step over
Sonova
that.
Mitchell and John.
I've got the hubcap holding on to that.
We didn't know what this was.
Okay, let me see. It's
Now
a
we'll move on.
house.
Where was that?
Move
Boy,
on.
oh boy, better
This
move
car
on.
was given to us, our first furlough.
Oh.
Now, who are these children? This is that same home, honey. I can't think of what that lady's name is.
Four
This
Battery
is, New
Lane.
Delhi, isn't it?
Four
Uh-huh.
Battery
Lucknow.
Lane, Old Delhi. Old Delhi.
Delhi or Lucknow?
Old Delhi. That is
The
the,
old chap?
yeah, the old
Couple
chap.
geezer kids?
Yeah.
Nice family.
Growing up slowly but surely. And good old Bob with his Bible.
This
Those
is
cars guards?
Mansetta.
Yep. Cards guards in
Yeah.
Mansetta.
That's the wall?
Yep, that's the
Doug's
one
on his
that
way up.
Jim fell off and broke his crown, his head, and his right arm, and screamed. They set
Terrific
it,
shot, that.
and then he screamed and screamed and screamed. This is on our way to
I
church in
remember yelling,
Murray.
but they said it without anesthesia.
So
But
there's,
not only that, they'd pinched a nerve.
now that's a classic.
And so he had a bicycle, five. He had a bicycle. We had a bicycle that we were keeping for him. It was an old used one, but anyway, we were going to give it to him for his birthday, I think, or something. And I promised him that didn't make any difference. He screamed on for 24 hours. So we took him to another hospital. And when we got to the other hospital, he said, "No wonder he's screaming. He's got a pinched nerve." And they reset it, and he was fine.
Has it affected his brain?
It affected my brain. That's Doug and David.
That's right. Doug and
Well,
Bob
you
and Jim.
You
and
didn't
David.
comment on that Sunday go to meeting shot earlier. Holy.
This is at Aunt Leanie's, because these are Aunt Leanie's dogs, Peppy and Cindy. And there we are.
Another Sunday go to meeting shot.
Yep.
Oh boy, she's a knockout.
There's a Sunday go to meeting shot. Now, what's
Yeah.
the building here? Is this
Bexley.
Bex?
It's Bexley.
Where's David? David?
He took the shot.
They're all so cute.
You know, they really
Especially the one on
were.
the left.
They really were cute kids. Look at David
Yeah.
crying his heart out.
Aw.
Daddy's in the middle, right?
You got them picked out, girls. Who's handing out the
Now,
Christmas
that's
presents?
one of the few pictures of Bob.
But he got shoes.
Short on Bob.
What a shot of our mountains, boy.
This is outside
In Ahmedabad. Ahmedabad.
Those people's house, remember, on the way to Mansetta, just a little
Yeah,
few
you're
miles
right.
outside.
Exactly, Jim.
Well, who, honey? I can't.
I remember this day.
Yeah.
I think that they were government people, American or international anyway, not
Right.
Pakistani.
And we're looking up toward Tundiani and up that way.
Now there's the best nerd shot,
Who's the nerd?
right in the front. Urkel.
But look, Bob and Jim are the same height at that point.
Well, I was short for years.
I know it.
Did you know that, Ann? I was the shortest in my class.
These are my
Always.
teachers.
Always. I was a little tiny runt.
These are the Pakistani Christian teachers.
And that little girl,
Christian teacher?
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We had a school.
Taught the national children. That's back in that.
Pardon? Not these. These were Christians. No, the Muslims do. The Christians don't.
Who's squaffing there?
This is something in the States, I decided. A church picnic, probably.
Dairy Queen, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's that type of layout, yeah.
And that's,
My Uncle Olin is on the right, my own mother.
Your mom?
My own mother, not the stepmother you'd been seeing
the
lately.
brother. of
And
his-
this is the,
This is in Williamsburg.
my mother was the eldest, then had Zalma, and then two brothers. And he
Look
was
at
a,
that cake.
I'll
Methodist
tell you
pastor.
if that isn't, Maria, this cake I made for a birthday because we were going to get,
and then we
Yeah,
all
we were
took
on our way
baths in
home.
that tub, but I got in first. He didn't change the
but
water.
the problem was,
Don't
the
forget
problem
the
was
tub.
that when I
I'll
showed
be
it to
commenting on the tub.
whichever child it was Doug's birthday.
I'm
when I
commenting on
showed
the
it
tub
to
on
him,
the tape now.
He
while
thought it was
she
a
tells
worm.
the story. We all took baths, buddy, turn my turn, in the tub,
So
and I got the water fresh first,
It's a worm.
and they all took baths in the same water. Turn by turn, buddy.
That's the famous tub.
That's the tub.
And that's Elizabeth's birthday.
Now there is a better slide somewhere, and I assume Elizabeth
She was
has it,
10.
because this slide says on it, the other one is better.
And there we
Is that
are.
Doug chuckling?
I was expecting Jim, I'll bet.
Boy, that's Doug, all
with
right.
his drum.
Drum.
Didn't Mom do a fantastic job on those cakes, though? Boy. Took a
This
cake
was-
on Macmillan's kid,
Yeah.
on his head.
This is Bob's birthday, obviously.
Well, he's squaffing.
And he could have, but look, Nate Irwin is looking at us.
He's being very polite.
This was.
He's watching it, but his dad was a chocoholic, so I know he was well trained. What's the idea of that? Who's the girl with
this
the
is
teeth?
This was the boat.
But no, that's not on a ship, honey.
Honey, that is the boat.
What do you mean?
Not
by-
on the
oh,
boat, it is the boat.
Do you mean the actual cake?
Yeah.
Can you get that snapped on, okay?
I'm trying, Jim.
And in the meantime, but who's the gal with the teeth?
That is, you know where this was?
No.
This was those children who lived up on the border of Kashmir that came to visit us. There were two of them. Their names were Wilson, and they were from
But where's the house?
Virginia.
American type people?
They were Americans.
Here we are, good luck.
That's right.
Yeah.
Jim, you're right on.
David and Jim. You can say what you please. They don't want to admit it, but David, when I raised David, I raised a little Jim. That's true.
This is
Who's the
Dad.
feller?
I know from this.
No, that's Lundgren.
Very good.
That's Lundgren, all the way.
I think it is Lundgren.
I think you're right.
He was a great one with the
Santa
kidlets.
Lundgren, I think is what the slide says.
He was terrific
Here's another Santa.
with a grandpa
That's
robe.
in India.
On my old robe, or did I get his inherited?
I think it's yours.
Yeah. Tell about the trees.
This is Monsetto, according to Doug.
He's
Who had a
brought it-
very good
Might
memory of this
be.
particular Christmas.
He's probably right.
Might be. It
And I
looks
had
a
to
little
agree with
like.
him
He's
after
Yeah.
probably right.
Yeah, it
That's
looks
the
like it.
Loharmanda, you remember?
Yeah,
Loharmanda?
Yeah.
remember.
Where
Now,
we
Jim, what
live?
is this on the slide?
That's
Is it?
just
soot?
fungus from age. That's why we gotta get all
But-
these
Yeah.
on print, which we
It's
did.
great, and that took off the fungi, huh?
The old chap with the thing around
With the
the
original kaffir, that is really from Arabistan.
Now this is just a Christmas
From the
card
land
he
of the
always hung
Arabs.
around his neck.
He
That's,
picked
that's
those.
what we got the biggest charge out of. That's all the old Christmas cards.
And it's a calendar, see?
They save those calendars. They have one picture because that's all
They
they
saved the
can.
Christmas card and
afford.
they would add to it a
All right,
calendar.
now we're gonna start
That's
individual kids, so we'll go
Elizabeth.
through 'em kind of
In
fast.
age from young
Okay.
to eldest. Come in. That's probably Rock. The guy was on the slides, David. Tell him that we
Go get
can't
it.
talk with him. No, I can't go
I'll
get it.
call him back tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll call him back tomorrow.
There she
Now
is.
see, this is that same little animal that was, remember the slide?
Yeah,
I couldn't
this is a
identify?
doll.
So maybe she just had more hair than you remember.
Yeah, that is Elizabeth, yeah.
Or maybe she lost it. Sometimes they lose
Oh,
this
she
stuff
did,
come
but
out.
it just never grew either. Till she was
And
about
I love
2.
this gown.
Is
I
this
remember.
Elizabeth?
Yeah,
I
it's
remember this
Elizabeth.
gown, because she has the lady's gown
It's on
on.
the baby ones, obviously, I'm guessing.
Uh-huh.
That looks like Elizabeth.
Uh-huh. There she is
There's
with
the
her
famous
first
cake.
birthday.
That's
Yeah.
a beautiful cake.
Isn't that neat?
Yeah.
That must have been the first one, sort of, Mom, that you ever made for anybody.
Yeah, I think it was. Nur Ahmed did most of this. I showed him what I wanted. I helped him some, but he did most of it. There she is.
And she didn't have hair, something happened to it.
Yeah.
But she grew it back.
It was just slow coming in.
Now, I didn't know, I think this is Elizabeth.
Yeah, and this is out in.
Same outfit, anyway.
This is next to the Anglican Church. See, the Anglican Church is right over there.
Our first little
This was what was the name of that cottage?
St. Luke's.
St. Luke's Cottage. And this was an old playpen that the
See, the
Davises
British
had
built
made.
many of those old churches. You called them garrison or army
This is-
churches for their troops.
This is probably her first birthday because the teachers were so good about getting those little outfits for her. There she is.
Is that the same tub, Dad, with dirty water?
Well, it's the
It's
same old tub
framed.
we had
Yeah,
for years.
I couldn't get in that one.
Boy, I remember those tubs, let me tell you.
This is when she went to boarding. No, she was in India, but it
I'm
was a
looking,
boarding
that was the first
dress.
jacuzzi I guess we had. I'm waiting on
Yeah.
this one up here.
You took some beautiful shots, Dad.
Well, I was well trained in the old days. For an Argus C3, I think, in the old fashioned. We were proud of our old sis, who became our only daughter. We didn't know it then. So we like daughters in the family now.
Sure do.
My
And
dear
I don't know
Aunt-
why she was such a
Well, she
sourpuss
was-
with this. But Auburn, it's not here. But see
She
those
probably
shoes?
didn't want to dress up so much. but
They're
Aunt-
just exactly like the ones I just brought.
Aunt
for
Zelma wanted
Auburn.
you to look
I
nice.
put this in just because it looks like a performance to me at MCS. I think that's
I think-
Chuck Ross.
It's
Yeah.
the diploma, handing out
I
the
think
graduate
it's her
diplomas.
graduation.
Yeah, that could be right.
It's graduation.
Sure.
Now there's the young lady. What do you think of her there? She was a knockout.
With Catherine.
Catherine came to Pakistan, or was this India?
That's her
Who on earth
graduating
are all
class.
that? All those
It's her
people?
graduating class, and she
Oh,
graduated
who are
top.
they?
This is Carol Salmon. I can't remember who that is. Mary Beth McCurry, Lotes, Rob, and Elizabeth. Who is the middle one?
Who's
I
the
can't
guy?
remember who that is.
She wasn't valedictorian, was she?
Yes, she was. She
Sis
was so
was?
far ahead of everybody else. And what makes me angry to this day is they did not recognize her as valedictorian.
Why?
Probably just
Because they said that the class was so small, but actually Rob's son was in it.
There's
and-
I want a quiz. What's the
There's
name
a
of the dog?
there's a tragic story to that, and I
But what's
feel
his
guilty
name?
every time I think
I'm
of
the
it.
only one that knows because I cheated from the slide.
Well, let's see. What
I've
was his
forgotten what
name?
his
Not
name.
Judy.
But you don't know who the dog is, or I mean, whose it was.
No, but I know it's not Judy, so it is
North Christie's dog.
Punch. Very good.
Punch, but we unfortunately
Another rabid dog?
didn't take care of him, and he got in fights with the local dogs, and he disappeared. And,
No, honey, I think he died.
well, he died by dog fights, honey, that the
yeah,
natives
okay.
had.
Okay.
Good night, and it was our fault, and Norv never forgave me,
I
I
don't think he ever did.
Dad, your slide on this one says the little toughie that wouldn't pose. This one and the next one, I threw them both in.
And that was Vern Rock, right? On the phone, David?
No, that
Oh.
was Rod. Rod is gonna pick me up and take me back to his house,
What a guy.
and then he's gonna take me to the airport.
Tonight?
Is
He's
that
coming
good?
out.
Is
He's
that
Coming
good?
out
Or,
tonight, and then he's gonna take me to the airport in the morning.
What a guy.
terrific, fantastic. Is he a
You
good
mean to tell
guy?
me we
We're
don't
in
even
the
have
dark.
anything
Okay, this is the most
nice?
famous picture of all.
There
It
you
is,
are,
except I
David.
thought that it was Doug.
It is
But
gonna
I
be
thought
the.
it was me.
It's
but I
gonna
was
be the.
never given credit for it.
Wait a minute, it should have been the cover story of it all.
Because Jim kept saying it was the famous Doug Bunn shot.
Yes, that's what I thought it was.
So who is it
was,
for sure? Let's
David-
put it on the record.
David Charles Thompson.
It's Dawood Alayhi
And wearing
Wow,
Doug's boots.
don't have a Muslim hear that.
Wearing Bob's boots.
Bob's boots. He used to always get Bob's boots and wear them.
His cheeks aren't that cute anymore, so.
Why, have you checked them out?
That's Azad, isn't it?
Who's outside?
That's Azad Khan. He was supposed to have been a convert, and only the good Lord knows whether he accepted him, as in many cases of Muslim converts. But he was very, very good, as faithful servants could be, up in our Ugi station,
And
the
always
tribal,
wore that hat.
the edge of the tribal station, yes.
And carried the.
And as far as I know, the guy is still coming and takes care of that property up there in Ugi, and we've had
Probably still has the same hat.
Now,
the.
these were gonna go fast. 'cause
Okay.
if you start with
Well,
the
too
video-
bad we
this
didn't
is
get
that
a-
same series in India. That one. There's
Doug.
Doug.
He
He's a
reminds.
little long for the sleeves. Little long.
It's all right.
Scratch his knees without bending
Well,
over.
listen, buddy, when you gotta
Man,
clothe
try
all
to
these
keep all these
grown kids
clothes.
growing up like
Look at the size
This
of his
actually-
hands, too.
they grow
This
like
actually-
weeds, and he's got a buck. He looks like an actor kid there.
That
Remember
actually.
that picture where I said before it was outside of Abbottabad?
This is another
It's the
one.
same one.
Same
That's
area.
favorite
You're,
shirt.
exactly. You're right.
There he is playing his trombone.
And he can still play that horn, by the way.
Not a chance.
Da, da, dee,
There
da,
is
da,
Jim with all his hair.
da, da, dee,
That is Jim.
Yes,
Back in the
yes.
good
See that
old
mop
days.
of hair?
Back in the good old days of hair.
Oh.
Oh,
cookie.
look at
Yeah,
that.
and this dear servant of Christ,
And
he
I,
almost blind, but the Lord took care of our property through him.
There he is.
He was such a faithful
Jimmy Bob's.
Jim
man.
Bob.
God bless him.
And that is
God called him home
David.
not long
David.
ago.
Hey,
I mean, that's Jim.
oh,
It's
yeah.
Jim. It's Jim. It's Jim. It's
Well-
Jim. I go.
Well, now explain that we
there
did
was
not.
yes.
We did
there
not
was an old
paint
lady.
the cheeks.
Yeah.
No makeup
When we
job.
got to New
Those
York,
are natural.
did you hear this story, Jim? That
Say
when we
it quickly.
got to
He's
New
got to
York,
go on.
No.
when we got to New York with you three kids on our first furlough, we went into one of these horn
and hard
hearted
They're just taking them off the market.
restaurants,
Put in
and
your nickel, get a sandwich.
no
you're
kidding,
done.
all the New Yorkers just turned around and looked at us, and finally someone got up courage enough to come over and say, "Where are you from? I have never seen such healthy-looking children." And then she said something like, I said we were from the poor part of Pakistan. She said, those children are just beautiful. This
From
is
the
in New
mountains.
York.
See, the mountains do that to you. The Himalayas or
This is
Himalayas.
David, right?
Yeah, I
Because
think
there are a
it
number
is.
of these, and I have them out of order. I
Yeah.
apologize.
But who's the lady? Who's the lady? Rasmussen?
And this is up
No, this is, what's her name? They just got married, that Miss Saba. That Miss Saba, that
at
Canadian.
Merle Houghton.
Merle Houghton.
And
she got
this is
finally
up at
married.
Dunga Gully.
Retired, getting home.
It's up at
Retired.
Dunga Gully, honey.
Oh, Dunga Gully?
Yeah, there
Jim
he
Bob.
is.
I used to love these shots.
Dad, you took some terrific.
They are. I mean,
shots.
they're almost
Oh.
pro shots, and now my son's got them developed.
There's
And this-
Bob, and
these
enjoy
li-
it. Sure.
These,
Oh, the
listen,
shot.
you've got to hear the story about
This is
this.
it for solo Bob.
Mom's got a
You've got to
story.
hear the story. He wet these pants,
Don't
and
say
to
it.
dry them out, he put them on the stove and burned them. And it was his only good outfit.
We had these pot-bellied stoves that would sit in the middle of the room. Bob.
Bob still had done
And then he'd
nothing
go,
wrong
"Ma,"
at this
then
point
he'd go,
either.
Bob, bum.
Yes, right.
Oh,
I don't know why he's
that
so
was
sad
after he
here.
burned his pants.
David, or Jim, you should have a lot of Bob.
Ma, I couldn't find them. I don't know who's got them, but I don't.
All right,
this
who
one
is-
of us?
That's Bob.
Because if it's not, we'll move on.
No, it's-
awfully
it's,
sandy-haired for one of us.
I think it's Doug.
That's
No.
not Doug. Move on.
No,
Oh no, it's
Could be a
That's-
foreigner.
it's Bob because the playpen was given
that was
to us.
Jameis.
This was given to us by Dr. Hampton.
Well, you recognize the general area, right? It's down there a little bit between.
Well, you see everybody
Murray-
bathing, yeah.
between
See
Murray
all
and
the
Pinson
kids, one of those few
Uh-huh.
places they'll
in the river.
take the kids to swim. Jameis,
No,
Looking
that's
good.
David.
Nice watch.
Surely that's David, Dad.
I think
It's a
it's,
definite David.
is it Daoud?
Get mom tired. Oh, there's a Bob. David,
Fucker.
What's he
David?
doing there?
we're
It's
back
me.
in Doomga Gully. Is
We're
that
do-
Doug, mom, or
It's me.
Dave?
No, that's Natia
I think
Gully,
it's
a
David.
conference.
That's
That's
me.
where we had our annual conference at the Natia Gully Green Hotel.
Oh, here's a Bob. Here's a
Yeah,
solo
boy,
Bob.
that's a good one of him.
With Murray.
I
in the
gotta get
background
that
and
verse. If I don't
vultures.
get that verse down, if I could get started in that, I'd
Christ
give it to
Jesus
you.
came into the world
Yes,
to
but I want
save
to get it in Urdu. If
Khudavan
I-
Yesu.
No, honey.
Okay, you know who that
There's
is on the
another Bob.
right. Yeah. This was a
That's an
birthday,
Irwin on
obviously.
the left. I think
Got
that's
him, got
Nate
him.
Irwin on the
Yeah, and
far
on the
left.
right, it's a couple that had the children. They didn't stay very long. I can't remember their names.
Move.
That's Bob.
It's not Bob.
Who's that,
David.
It's
David?
me.
That's David
Oh,
naturally.
dear.
And he's
We
scowl.
won't talk about what I'm
Yeah,
holding.
with his dolly.
Who
Look
is
at
that feller with my chocolate cake? Good night.
Feasting.
This has got to be David.
It's all Natia Gully.
Cookie.
See his
Is that
little
those
shoes?
shoes?
Yeah, see his little shoes? He had crooked feet.
Bad.
And he had,
Don't mock the physically disadvantaged. Okay?
I haven't said anything about your mental handicap.
Jim, you're awful.
I said physically. Nice cheeks.
That's the other set.
I
Dear
love
Nat,
that. I
Dear
love
Nat,
that.
he's a precious, precious. He's with the Lord.
When did he die?
About, a year ago. Year and a half ago.
Wow.
There you are.
I should put all those Natia ones together.
Yeah, you should. Bexley, but I love the gates and the wire. It's
Hands
not a
up,
gate,
back up
it's
a little
just
bit there.
rods and wire netting to.
Got a little annoying static cling problem
Yeah,
there.
it did. Move on. Focus on the good ones. Don't stay on this
Unless
one.
it's flaking
Aw.
for moisture.
There we go.
Why does he grab there?
I'm grabbing the tail again.
It was
Dear.
wiggling.
There he is.
That's a real bucker there.
Big feet.
Tore the cover off. Beautiful.
Are we up in,
No, this is the Kunhar. Down by Brakor, I think, probably.
Oh, I remember those rivers.
looking
Those
up-
rocks.
Yeah, the beautiful. The laundry, Mom always used to love our laundry being out. But where's
Where
the
was
shot?
that?
Yeah,
Wait,
well,
David, go
Yeah,
back.
where's that shot?
David? No,
Is it-
let's figure it out here.
It could be in backwards, could
No,
it?
you know where, well, it could be, but you know, this looks to me like the Bach.
Oh,
You
that's
see the
not,
gray
yeah,
building
those,
in the background?
that's, yeah, you're right.
I think
Those
it
are the
is,
new buildings
yeah.
at Bach.
But it's early Bach.
Yeah, very, very early.
Early Bach, so
Exactly.
it's built up.
Yeah, it's all been built up now around here. Because the
But it's
trees aren't,
Columbia Bach.
that's right.
Okay,
well
there's
then-
Dorothy Trantham, Phyllis Irwin, me, and Glennis McMillan.
Yeah, you're right, sweetheart. Who's in the back? Oh, that's a good prize to guess.
Probably our children.
On the way to Oogie.
Exactly. And that, what was that village, that first village where the big bridge was?
Do you know, Jim,
Oh,
what
we got a shot
amazes
of the
me?
bridge.
What amazes me so is that I can't believe that I just never worried about you kids. You know, you
I
had so
think
much.
the same thing myself, because
You
I
had
mean,
a
the things
lot
that
of.
we did growing up, we
yeah.
were basically from age 8 or 9 free to run.
Yeah. I think if you're
And that
going in the
snow they're
woods
about
and
to
staying
throw, I
all
wonder what
day.
that
This
was.
is snow, and this
Yeah.
is the back of the shelter.
Yeah, it
You're
is.
right,
Uh-huh.
exactly.
And every day, you know, it's gonna snow, kids, it's gonna snow, and then, all right, it's
And
not
they got
gonna
enough to
snow.
make
Right.
one little snowball.
You gotta-
That's right. Oh, I brought my
Yeah.
weather radio with
this
me
is,
now.
no, this is the front of the servants' quarters,
Yeah,
Jim.
there's the front of the shelter, I mean,
And
the
the
general view.
garage,
Yeah.
that was our beautiful garage. I wish I had one now.
What was in there?
The car, we used to park the car there.
The truck.
Sure. And it changed from FPH to Hazara, HA. Hazara 408.
Back of the shelter again.
Yeah. Great poses.
Look at this.
They built real forts to do their, that's, here's a good shot, David, from the shelter,
Yeah, I
Havania.
remember that shelter.
Now,
Oh, we
he
took
must
the
have gone
pickup right up
above
there, yeah.
Abbottabad
Let the
there on that
kids
little
do some
hill.
sledding and stuff.
Look what you let us do. Man,
I
we can't
know,
take a
I-
hill.
Oh, that's dangerous, going over the hill.
I tell you, I think I was
We
nuts.
just put David on there. Test it out with David.
Yeah,
See God
right.
Pushing David down.
See if he survives.
Yeah.
And if he survives,
That's right.
and then if not, knock him ahead with the shoulder there.
I cannot believe I
With
would
the
do
shovel,
this.
I mean. Those are Swati cap styles from that SWAT state, I told.
This is Bexley.
Little Luke Cuthro.
We're putting together the wagon after bringing it up for the summer.
And is the native
And
kid
the,
helping?
Scooter there. This was a camping trip up towards Nathia Gully. with
That's,
Dave
is that when
Mitchell.
you slept on the
The
scorpions?
purpose of which this was,
No, but I mean, that happened fairly.
the important part before you
They
move
laid
on,
down their sleeping bags one night and the next morning
as mother is still
they
talking,
woke
the
up and
important part
discovered
of
they
this
had put
was
it on a
what?
bed of
telling
scorpions.
about the birds and the bees.
Dad took
What?
us on
And
this
that
trip
will
to
be
tell us the birds and the
the
bees.
bees.
And it took him 3 days to get up his courage.
Because I tell you, it was
Finally, at
not
the
the
end of
subject,
third day,
it
he
was
gives us
today.
10 minutes.
Ah!
It wasn't the freedom you got today.
And Doug says, I knew it.
I think
This
that's
is
a glory
sports
shot
day.
of Jim broad jumping there.
Hi, jumping.
Or hi, where's the stick? Oh, he knocked
Bait
it off.
Knocked it off.
You have a fan up here.
Remember
check it
Mr.
out.
Lawrence? Yaad hai bhaiya? Oh,
Oh,
Scott.
that is,
That's
a
Mr.
Miller.
Mr. Lawrence, right there.
That's right. That
There's
is-
Mom looking festive in her little glasses.
Yeah,
dark
and
glasses there.
trying to see what's
Yeah,
going
I wonder
on. I
what's
think
going
my hair is
And who's
rolled.
yawning on the left?
We don't have somebody in here. I've already crossed the finish line.
On the right? No, who's in the black shirt?
Unless that's Bob, yeah.
Bob, it looked
Go
like
back
Bob.
and let's
Oh, what a
see.
glory shot. Instead of pointing and throwing
Is that
snowballs,
mustard, Mom?
they're
Yes.
pointing, yep, mustard seed.
Uh-huh.
Remember what the Bible says about it.
They don't look that big to me.
Eh,
Who's in the lower left there? Is that Doug?
Doug.
It's, no, it's David, I
That's
think.
Doug.
No, we think it's.
And
Oh,
unfortunately,
definitely
he's this guy on the right standing in front of the oven. They make the big. Oh, what a shot!
Now here's a shot, except for the fact that his face blurred because
And-
he moved. There's
yeah.
Azad. And
Azad
Dad
Khan.
swapping Akbar.
And Akbar, we're eating right the native food there, right in the little
David.
village of Oogie.
Yeah, that's Oogie. Boy,
Yeah.
the tea stove, we spent a lot of
Boy.
good
It was so
Donkeys
filthy.
and everything. Oh,
Donkeys, chickens, goats,
everything coming around. It's a dirt floor,
Totally.
and yet it was the sophisticated hotel. Or
Dad's baying himself
Eating
with
place.
the left hand.
yeah, that was a mistake. I must have taken a bone out or something.
Look at that leather jacket Dad's got on. He was a
Oh, I was kind of
He
a
loved
hero.
that jacket.
These are nomadic Pathan or Afghan fellers that came down through their camels and carried big lumber.
With the bottom on the far right.
Yeah, he's posing with these rugged Afghans.
A famous
We'll
shot.
let Jim tell this story. He always remembers it.
We used to go up to Oogie, and we had to cross this river twice. You can see where it curls around again. And the road went straight through it. Now, they'd finally gotten tired of getting stuck in there, and they were building a big road around the outside there. But I can remember going down into that river, and every time Mom would say, honey, we're going to get stuck, and Dad would say, no, we're not. And we'd plow into it, and
Oh,
not get stuck. And
look at all of our
And you had to
saman.
take all the stuff out of the pickup, because, you know, you've got to
Weighted down.
push it along.
That's
And
all
they
of
were
our
so
bedding. You
helpful.
had
These
to
guys
take your
were very
bedding every
helpful.
place.
Now it's a regular Pukka road. It's paved down all the way to Oogie
This
and
is
beyond.
above Abbottabad, where we lived for the latter part of our years there. We're out, Dad would take us on hikes up in the hills. I love this shot because you can see it better later, but look at what Doug's got, nothing. And then I've got a little pack
Or
on my
softball.
back. And then Bob struggling up the hill.
Beautiful. Take it again. Look at
Oh,
it again.
This is right there.
Struggling
This is
up the
when-
hill with 50 pounds.
This is when Jim was chasing
That
butterflies.
is a big heavy haversack or knapsack.
No, he was chasing butterflies with it.
No, Bob carrying the
Right,
heavy,
I've
Oh.
got the butterfly.
heavy, big, that's big for a man, that big thing.
And Bob's loaded down
Oh.
with whatever we could get on his back. There he is again, look at it.
That's a terrific shot, really. That's beautiful.
Oh.
Poor Bob, no wonder he's a preacher today, making up, praying for his brothers.
Oh,
Finally, we let him set it down.
And he's meditating and
oh
Nice,
dear.
nice motorcycle boots.
oh, he's bucking there. He was a great poser.
Oh, here they
that
are,
James? Is he-
diving
Now,
off the
Dad
back.
would let us get up on the pickup and heave off into the lake.
I can't believe this.
Well, this lake was made, it's a man-made lake, and so it's actually very shallow, but where the pickup is, yeah, but there's a culvert, and that must have been the old riverbed, and so, see that timber sticking up out of the water? That's where the culvert came to, so Dad would back up to that, and then we'd heave off into the water.
And it was a good 1.5 feet deep there, so.
And I had them jump,
You couldn't get hurt.
This is the
Bef-
same
bef-
place, but from the other side of the pickup.
and before I dove in, I had the kids see if they could dive
Was
in.
that like foul water?
Oh,
or?
totally.
No,
Oh,
Jim.
Dave,
Well, foul in the
I
American
remember
sense,
a
yes.
specific instance
Oh,
in
you
which
do?
Doug
Oh,
contributed.
Well, what do you think the natives did? What do you think the natives did, my
I
friend?
thought it was fairly.
Do you remember
clean.
coming down from Murray on the Nutty Gully Road?
What a
between-
stupid person I was.
Between
Oh,
Abbottabad and Murray was this town and the terraces.
Jim, let's not be
The
so
old
graphic.
Rex Horton, I've got that shot.
Italian conversation.
Do I have that shot of Rex?
Oh,
Why the white stones in the middle of the road?
Too dark to ponder, just a shot of the pickup.
there
Whatever-
is a.
whatever.
No, that's a good picture of a charpai.
And we're holding
Oh,
up,
that is right. Look at how they've got that in the back. take
just to
people
fit
around.
right. Fit
It
just
fit
right.
in the pickup.
It probably was someone they took to the hospital, is my guess. They
Probably.
took the-
But we've held up all the traffic and they're getting the glory shots. Where, I'm not sure where it was. Muddy, Muddy.
The post office.
The
Mountain.
mountain,
Snow.
Mountain Murray is what it means. Muddy, the natives called it.
This
Pick up for
First,
sale.
That might be sugar.
Yeah, here's my verse. Now I can read it
Gary?
now.
Uska.
Nay. I have to get
Yesu.
closer.
Uska
I
nam
can get-
Yesu rak.
रखना
Kyunke
क्योंकि वो ही
wohi
अपने
ap-
गुनाहों को
Right.
brother, let me get up if you want to
So
hear it.
So-
I can read it if I get up
Now,
closer,
call
but I
his
can't.
name Jesus,
I'll
for
have
he
to
will
get
save
loose.
his
Well,
people
how
from
far
the
do I
sins.
have?
Oh, you can take.
I gotta show
you
off
don't
a
have
little
much
bit here.
farther.
Uska, uska काम is
Uska naam
उसका
Yesu
नाम यीशु-
rak.
यीशु रखना क्योंकि वो ही अपने लोगों को अपने गुनाहों से निजात देगा मसीह यीशु को. That's
मसीह
Matthew
यीशु
1:21. He
Dunya.
will call his name Jesus because he'll save his people from their sins. This is the one I was thinking of.
मसीह
मसीह
यीशु
यीशु गुनहगारों को निजात देने
Yeah.
के लिए दुनिया में आया. Jesus Christ came into the world to save sinners. And that's from Injil, the Injil Sharif, the Holy New Testament.
and
what's
that's
down here, Masih, and,
Masih.
oh, this gives the address of the
Masih
reading room, Christian
Kutub
reading
Khana.
room. Something road. What was the road? Something road Abdabad. What was the name of
I
that road?
forgot,
The main
honey, I can't
Grand
remember.
Trunk Road.
What does it say? This pickup for sale.
This pickup for sale.
must have
Well,
been
when we were trying to
really-
get it sold, G.R. Thompson, Gardi,
Ferocht.
What is-
Fer-
oh, Gardi
Ferocht or
Ferocht.
something.
Baraye
Say-
Froh, for
Baraye
for
Ferocht.
sale. Gardi
Yeah.
Baraye Froh. Hussain, what is this? Mission school. Bil muqabil, that means
In
facing head on.
Opposite.
Tar gar se, no, what is tar gar? Tar gar se.
Targar
How much were you
say-
asking for it?
I can't remember at that time, but it ended up at the Murray Christian School and was there a good number of years. But let me tell you a little cultural thing. We're all
PGA.
family here, and we're chuckling at it. But I was told by a very pious Muslim who genuinely said I should not have verses on the back of that truck in that position. Because when you get into the truck and
It
the
goes down
backside,
and faces the
it
ground.
goes under the groin area, shall I say, we're walking over holy words and getting into the truck,
They
so
don't-
I did
they
give it
don't
a
like
thought.
to keep their Quran below the
They
waist.
never put the Quran on exactly for the very same purpose. They wrap it up and put it in niches in the wall and in the mosques.
This is
The
early.
early part of the
Quran
Bach
Jamaat.
Hospital, that's
Yeah.
right.
That's a residency being built up there. not
That's
a hospital.
Laddie.
But which was that first bungalow?
Well,
Was that
here we go,
Karsgaard's?
with the dog.
Oh.
Now, I know that,
Now, whose
that's a
was that?
transom up there in the yellow.
Beth Trantham, Judy
And
Davis holding, I don't know who she's holding, David Davis, Doug, Pete McMillan,
Who's that goober up in the upper
Karsgaard,
right?
I don't know. He
David
always thinks he gets
Jim
the
Thompson,
center, but we put him off to the side purposely.
Cindy Irwin, another McMillan, I think,
The Macmillan girl's in the middle, the little
Yeah.
one by the dog.
and Mark
Yeah, that's the
Trantham.
McMillan bottom.
Who's the little
Yeah.
blonde in the far right at the bottom?
That's Cindy Irwin, I
Is
think.
it so chubby?
Could be an Irwin.
You know the Tranthams I told you up here in Zion.
Caleb,
Uh-huh.
cute girl.
It was
We're
excellent.
getting into missionary friends is the general.
Very good. Now
And
we're
this
into the
is in,
more adult thing.
Now, this guy at the
Co-workers.
bottom right was my best childhood friend, Luke
Yeah,
Kutro. He's in Pakistan now as a missionary
As it,
doctor
right there at that same hospital.
at the same hospital we were just looking at.
Where,
In fact, is this the Bach on the grounds? I'm looking in the back. I guess
I
not.
don't
I think,
think-
no, I think it's, not Barakot, but
That
Gertie
one- that one-
Hapibullah, I think.
Might be even Gertie. Were they?
I think it's Gertie.
Gertie Bawala. Beautiful shot.
See,
I
this
tried
is
to get
Gertie
the-
too, isn't
The
it?
color's better, like in National
Yeah.
Geographic here.
Now, he was a Britisher that was out there as
And always
an
had to get
officer.
red in the
Who's this
picture.
guy?
That was the old
Let's bring
Geographic
this
guy.
in.
Yeah, he was a Britisher, I think out there as an officer.
I forget, these were UN guys, I
Yeah,
believe.
It's
UN.
good to see Dad lining them up on the wall and putting them out in the background.
And getting red on either side, make it
composing
prominent.
Right, red on each
And
side.
is that Musika Masala?
I think
Or
so,
is
it
that
looks like.
Makra, the
No,
one?
that's Musa, because Makara is sharper than that.
Probably a
Musa's got
little
that
bit.
little slant to it.
And tell them that Musika Masala is the prayer rug of Moses. It's a flat
Now,
top
what is
mountain.
he holding over, what is he holding over Macmillan's head?
He's kidding with something about his bald
No.
head.
We had.
What is that
Oh,
thing
no,
in
you know,
his
this
hand?
is his,
Sprayed.
no, this is Filter Queen, and Russ Irwin sold
Oh,
him.
that's right.
And he used to do nothing but talk about Filter Queen.
Because in the
vacuum
States, I
cleaner.
thought it was a bottle of Dettol for David.
No, that's his Filter Queen.
Good
This
old
is
David
Ann
Thompson,
Thompson
after
and
whom our
David
David was quite serene.
Allison,
This is David
Timmy
Sikonis.
Rock, Rhonda.
Far right.
Dear saint of God, this man in the
No,
middle. He
not
was a
Timmy, it must
Scots
have been
businessman,
Stephen.
single one out there, and my wife claims I introduced him to Ann Morris.
By
that
saying,
she
and this
is-
is our only
This is
single
our only
girl.
single lady. Now, the rocks we've been calling here on
Who was
the
the only single
far right.
girl?
And
Yeah.
Morris was
Ann
at
Morris,
the time.
but there,
But then the
But then
6
she
more
died.
came, yeah,
yeah, Ann died of
He had to raise
cancer,
his two daughters.
and he never did get married
again.
after that.
But he came back to the States.
He
Yeah, well,
is,
he's-
and
Dad just heard from him.
I heard from the Jean Stoddards who were going back
Here
to
are
Pakistan.
my
We
parents.
have to get on. This is more important. These
These are
are,
my parents and the Davises.
and
What
that
year
that
they
was
have? You know, I haven't seen him in too many
this
pictures.
picture. Did you know was taken before we came back to the States, our first furlough?
That's
And
right.
so Carl used to kid us about 5 miles an hour at that railroad crossing before Deep
Your
Creek, you
granddad-
know.
That's my
I mean, your
granddaddy
mom-
Williams and my grandma Williams.
Grandma
That's-
Williams would
that's
have
my mother's
been,
dad and mother in the center, and then they're flanked by the two missionaries.
who
this
are
would have been in 1952 because the
likely about then,
Davises
yeah, because
came
they
home
came
then.
right home.
And my mom
a
was
year.
born in Fort. My mother is younger here than I am right now.
No kidding.
Wow.
Is that right,
That
honey?
is scary.
And yet she didn't pass away till 98 years old.
It has to be pretty old, Ma, because Agnes hardly has any gray, and she
I know
turned
it.
gray really early.
But my mom, this would have been 1952, and my mother was born in 1890. That would be 62 years old, and I'm 63.
Rex
so
Horton, and we have to say this is Buttergram is 8 miles away, and Tharcourt, where John Zabe was from, 17 miles away. Old milestones, the British started the idea back in those days. So
I
that,
thought that was an excellent shot of Rex.
yeah, it is. And he was the one that came to our house in Monsanto. Oh, did we forget
Now
the
this
story?
has to bring 'em back.
Forget the story.
The
I wonder
memories.
what's going
All
on
the different
here.
missionaries. And Jim, I think it was Mary Ann Sorensen next to Barbara was in the middle.
She's,
I see Barb, but covering her face.
Yeah,
Yes, with her
that's
nose.
Mary
That
Ann.
is the girl in our home office right now that I think you asked who she was. That must have come to DPH or
And
somewhere.
she's in front of Russ Irwin with Nate.
Yeah, right.
And then
Mrs.
Sonova.
Mitchell
Sonova Mitchell.
and
Mrs.
DeHart.
and Rex Horton's wife. What was her name?
Now, who's at the
Jane.
front at the right?
That is Barb Ring,
Okay, and who's next to her?
Dorothy Transom,
Okay.
then Glennis and
McMillan's,
George, and
Ann Morris
and Ruth
Thompson.
Arvidsson on the left. With
Ruth Arvidsson is still out there, the gal in the left corner. Ha! What a buckshot!
You know what this
Oh,
was.
what a buckshot!
You know what this was.
Fun night. We
Yeah.
had fun night, yeah. And he's putting on a real
What's
bucks.
he doing? He was really talented.
Yeah, he
Okay.
majored in 3 subjects.
Check this
You
out.
name it. Music. He could play and sing.
These were Dad's pajamas,
Uh,
I
and
put this in even though it doesn't.
Lab
focus
technician
because
of our hospital. Yeah.
What a shot. With
Uh,
Russ
these-
And there was
George
another
there.
subject. I forget what that
these
was.
were Dad's pajamas. And when George
Oh,
came
were
out
they?
of them, I said, I sleep with that every night or something. And everybody just went into hysterics, and I was so
You
embarrassed.
said it before you knew what you were
Yeah, I
saying.
mean, I slept, they were Dad's pajamas, and I slept with, oh, this is Ray's
Oh,
wedding.
what a shot.
See her
What a
flowers?
shot.
I did,
These are the people in
I
your
did her
No,
flowers.
yeah, the one
Yeah.
to you're exactly right, David. But she was a teacher of our first missionary kids.
You know, it's funny how all these suits have 3 buttons instead of 2 now.
I never. That's a great noticer. But, and did you know that this fella was in the Navy in Norfolk, and Preacher Taylor, that led Mom to the Lord, led this guy, I believe, wasn't it
No
I
right?
think so.
To the Lord, yeah. He had a terrific ministry
Karen
with
and
servicemen.
Bill.
Bill and Karen Peach, about time they were married.
They
back
just
in-
had their 40th.
Yeah, they just celebrated their 40th. And I've got a thing to show you about them.
Montgomery.
Mark
Montgomery's,
and Carol
Montgomery
Joy.
in Punjabi, we say.
What's Carol Joy doing now?
She got
She's
married.
Oh,
Look at the
today.
snow. Look at the
Here again was a
snow.
tragedy of where, in a
I'm
sense,
saved.
Walter Montgomery also died of cancer. So Marge Montgomery and her sister, Rosie, are still up there living together in Philadelphia from where they were from. Send out the news notes.
Wally Terry
Great
and Afia
shot of
Gillerman.
Wally. And what was this lady's
Afia
name?
Gillerman.
Oh, terrific shot.
Who
Yeah.
is-
Oops.
Okay.
We're going back. Mom
Who
doesn't
is-
know. This is Gene Howard,
Oh,
my
yeah.
classmate of Woodstock. He's also a medical doctor out in the Northwest. And he married, these are 2 of our class of 1942 in Woodstock. Don't compare it to New York. I always have to say that. But that's the old British school that the missionary kids took over in India 100 and some years ago.
Hey,
So
this
there's
is
Woodstock
a fairly
School.
recent.
Dr. Gene Howard and Mildred Dye, I believe they were both of Methodist. I know she was Methodist parents. Our classmates that married. And we have about 3, and then Margaret Weeks was
Okay,
also.
this is a gal whose wedding cake I made. Plus, I decorated her church, but I don't think I did her flowers.
Who?
She's Joan something.
Joan Larson and Keith Mitchell.
And the preacher chap.
Carrie.
That's Rosie, the other
Dougie
sister of
Thompson,
ours.
Timmy Rock. Wonder what this.
Oh,
was.
they're copying our
Lundgren.
kids.
That's Uncle
There's-
Valerie Lundgren.
They're copying our kids at school,
That's right,
aren't
Valerie
they?
Lundgren.
On fun night.
And here we all are. Look at
Terrific
Ginger.
shot.
Freddie in the front.
Remember
row.
Earl
Look at Uncle
Parvin in the
Freddie.
back? Earl Parvin was the guy that kept our pickup going or our fridge going whenever he needed something. He was at the Appalachian Bible Institute.
Bob Bleeker.
Vi Bleeker, did she marry? No, she was not
No.
where
Are
married the
these
back.
Snodgrasses?
They're snobs, yeah.
No.
I don't-
who are they?
No, they're not.
Oh.
This isn't Wayne Snodgrass here?
No, I feel
Is
embarrassed
this
by
Wayne
eating.
Snodgrass?
Let me say, and I'm, God forgive me, these are the most precious, precious German Brethren people related to Dan Herm.
Oh, yes, this was
That-
in Germany.
Yeah,
That was
they
in
are
Germany.
precious.
Go back, Jim.
Oh, that's a precious.
That is what that is.
I'm so glad
Yeah.
you have that picture. I didn't look at the picture properly
They were
before it
so
came back
wonderful
to my
to
mind.
us.
Oh yeah, they were so sweet. Real, genuine believers.
Who's this Russian guy?
This Marine, my friend,
Oh, yeah, this is Dewey Jackson.
Dewey Jackson, and he's got a story with one red sock and one, what, brown?
No, one black sock and one
Because-
white. And he was going
By
out to
night,
Kaku. And he said, well, I think I've got
That's
another
the
pair just
military
like
academy
this.
service. We were going to play.
Oh, what a deal
That's
we
a
had.
story on Dewey. Dear man, he was a Christian Marine down to our U.S. Embassy. Bayonet here, who came up from the Punjab to be our sort of
Our
chowkidar,
blind chowkidar, our blind guy.
Mali
Right.
Gardner.
Blind watchman.
Blind
Blind
watchman at the,
watchman.
well, he was practically blind. He couldn't have stopped anybody that wanted to come in there, but he just trusted the Lord, and illiterate, and I was teaching him his national language. Well, I taught him how to read. He couldn't read the Bible. We'd have our devotions, and I'd read, and then I began sort of teaching him slowly. And he loved any gifts, like my old boots. See him down there? I trekked in those. Look at the salty things, man. Taking our old clothes to the Dhobi problem.
No, this was when we left Pakistan, and we gave him all the old clothes and told him he could give them
There's
away
our
to do
mustard
whatever he wanted
seeds.
to.
And that's his daughter.
His
Iqbal.
daughter,
Uh-huh.
Iqbal.
Iqbal. Sarvajan
Tell the story of
Akbar.
Sarvajan Akbar. We even have,
She came to know the Lord because she said she realized our God was the true one. She was sick with a fever, and I prayed for her and gave her some Camoquin, which was for malaria, and she got well. And she said she realized that was the true God, but I didn't know about this for several years. And
But-
little
but he
Aurangzeb
came-
has on Bob's outgrown clothes, I
Little
think.
shummy.
Okay. I must have said something funny here in Kambapur in front of the old Davis Bungalow, which later now is a Bible institute that we're running there in on the compound. The old, oops, we didn't finish. Balki Sheikh, you take over, honey.
Bilqis Sheikh was the wife of the ambassador to France and a woman of position and influence, and she came to know Christ as Savior. What happened was her grandson became ill, and he was in Holy Family Hospital, and I think the sister prayed for her or prayed for the child or something. Anyway, Balkis desired to have a copy of the scripture, and she told one of her 10 servants to
Make it short.
get her one or he would be fired. And he got it, and she began to read it, and the Holy Spirit opened it up to her.
And
she
her
was
code
saved.
name is Flower Lady, obviously, by the
And she
background.
had a vision or something. didn't
Oh,
she?
lots of vision.
Lots
She's
of
very
visions.
definitely.
Typically
That
Eastern.
originally caused her to
Yes,
talk
right. She saw a vision of John the Baptist, and she was told it was John the Baptist, and she went and looked up Sonova Mitchell in Husnabdal, which was near her house. And she got there just as Sonova was finishing a meeting. And she said, she came up in her Mercedes, her chauffeur-driven Mercedes, and Sonova had just let out some village women and was so embarrassed. And she asked her to come in and said, well, could I fix you some tea, or would you prefer coffee? And Balkis said, I've not come to drink tea or coffee. I've come to ask you a question. Who was John the Baptist? And Sonova said, I tried to think how I should answer that, and I finally decided there was only one answer to it. He came to point the way to Jesus Christ. And she said, Balkis said, thank you, and left. Well, then she went home and she began to read the scripture, and she came to a knowledge of Christ in a wonderful way. She's just gone back to spend the rest of her life in Pakistan after having been in California.
Our very,
This went in for a night.
our very sad farewell from Pakistan.
1968.
Right after Elizabeth graduated, we've been asked to leave the country. And it's a very sad experience for all of us. These are the people that were seeing us off. This man on my left in the picture right, to as we look at it, is Dr. Deska. He was a real man of God, an amazing, brilliant professor in the college. What was the name of the college
Gordon
again?
College.
Gordon College, Rawalpindi, an old United Presbyterian College. Wonderful man of God. A couple of the chieftains in the area. This is Oogie area. And now, what is this? This is certainly,
Some Pakistani.
yeah, this is some outfit. I wasn't sure, yeah. The Wali of Swat again to our right as we look.
Same guy.
Same guy, that ought to have been with that other picture, and his son, the heir apparent, on the left. Trying to break ground. Is our little hut noogie. Trying to have,
That's where this is.
yeah, that's our little hut noogie.
Dare I
Just a
do I
simple-
analyze those?
You
That's
are.
right, simple little mud hut with a couple of the men around. They're Muslim people. Now, who's up there standing? Can you see it, honey? Who had the word there?
Move on.
We're moving right along with various people.
Moving on.
We are shoving right along.
This-
Well, we're going through some Pakistani friends, and I don't
Yeah,
know.
and these are clans up from the north, but this is Gilgit, where we saw that mountain expedition. This is where I met those men and this group of Gilgit people.
This is one of the churches, I think.
Yes, that Chuck Burton on the far right. You recognize Chuck Burton on the?
No.
He-
Boy,
he-
does look Pakistani.
Yeah, he is very Pakistani, extremely so.
So this would be in
And
Campbellport.
it was, well, it's one of the outside clinics. I forget the Ganawar. No, that's India. You see the water pipes, which are interesting. I don't know what this must be some thana someplace, police station. Typical poor Christian family. Many of the Christian people, so-called, are generations 2 and 3 removed from an original revival that set out the turn of the century in Pakistan, where lower caste Hindus came to Christ as people movements. And our language school, an obvious picture of that with myself. I thought it was Jenny for a second, but it's not she, it's somebody else. And there's Jean Glassman, you'd recognize, with the gray suit near the middle. And
Is that MCS?
no, there's a language school. This is the manse, I think, or the actual
Learning-
church,
for
isn't it? The
learning
front.
Urdu.
It's
the
the
actual St.
manse or the
Margaret's.
church. I forget.
It's St.
Maybe
Margaret's, the church.
yeah, it's the Scots Skirk.
I need you to scoot back about.
The old UP church that our mission team took over when we arrived.
This is?
Yeah, there's the old UP church in
Is it-
Ahmedabad with Jack Ringer on the
And sitting
Jack
there.
Ringer top right, dear man of God, servant among the Pakistanis, Pathans particularly. These are all the Punjabi, I say so-called Christians because you have to say that. They're certainly Christian in name, and you can understand what I mean by that. But they're third generation removed from genuine believers, and many genuine believers, no doubt, amongst them.
That's the old
The old church in India, Christchurch or whatever. No, I forget the name of it, but in Delhi. And now we're coming back to what, Mansara? It almost looks like, or
Yeah,
where
it's-
is? Could that be a Mansara shot up by the
I
reading
think
room, or
so.
would it be in Ahmedabad somewhere?
Yeah, you sure
All our
are.
kidlets are there.
Was Elizabeth in that?
Mhm.
Oh, I
Now
didn't see
where
her.
are we back here? Wow, where is
These
that?
are groups, this series of photos are just Pakistani groups.
No, these are not Pakistanis.
Well, they may not.
These
be
are-
Japanese or something, who knows?
I don't know who
This
they.
is a school in Ahmedabad.
Called the
That's right.
Ahmedabad Christian School, ACS. And Mom was handed the big job as soon as Agnes Davis left to be principal of the school. And now it's a nice, great, big, almost high school, isn't it? How do
Oh,
you know?
yeah. Mhm.
And at that time, there were a lot of Muslim kids amongst these. It's a day school, and now it's boarding.
Are we back in India?
Yeah, you're back in there.
Back in Hindustan with the great doctor in the middle. She's the medical doctor married to an Indian. He's not in the picture, is he? He's only sometimes comes out. South Indian.
Now,
Oh, ho.
we get groups of school kids.
Okay, name them all.
All right, well, that's a Rob on the far Ronnie
Oh.
Robb, and then
A
a
Glassman.
Glassman maybe,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure.
She
then,
was a-
Lotz maybe?
No, she was a girl from,
No, not the blonde, the one next
oh
to
yeah,
Lotz,
Nina
yeah, that's
Lotz.
probably a Lotz.
Then
Lotz, then someone,
Carol
and someone, and
Salmon.
Elizabeth.
Carol
Exactly.
Salmon, and then they were from
And
Peshawar. I
then you
can't think
know
of her
the
name.
boys.
Is this 8th grade, Ma? This
It
is
was
not 12.
probably 8th grade.
It's definitely not 12.
And it is Gurial, isn't it?
Yeah, the
them
school.
two. And
Look
you
at
know
how
the Christie
tiny
boy in the middle,
Dewey
smart
Christie
character.
is.
He was a keen. I met him at the
He made the
Rasmussen wedding up
highest-
there.
One of the
The
highest
Martha
scores
Rasmussen. I
in
met this Christie
MSQT
boy. What's his
National
name?
Scholarship
Dewey?
Dewey
qualifying
up
test.
there at that wedding in
Let's
Rhode
see,
Island
One of the highest scores from something or other.
just a couple of years
Now,
ago.
this is senior.
Uh-huh.
Who's the tall chap? The only boy.
Ronnie Robb. But Jimmy Tebby should have been in
Is
that
this
too.
the sale?
What's the location? Is
Billy
The
this
Tebby.
sale
Murray
looks
up,
like the
Myrtle and
hostel,
Dick?
outside the hostel on the west side, or on the side, I forget what direction, but outside of your staff room, isn't it, honey?
I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, this is
where
out.
Bill Keith Shake lived.
No. This is Murray Christian School.
No way.
Yes, it is.
Ma?
Right out in front.
It's Chuck Robb, but I sure don't recognize anything about it.
I thought that is the hostel, honey. That's
No,
the edge
I
of the
don't think
hostel.
so,
Not the
honey.
hostel.
I don't think so either.
It's
Yeah,
not?
it didn't have balconies like that. Well,
Yeah.
maybe it's the back or something.
Yeah, but those
No, I
buildings.
think this was a party. This is in Murray, but it's on, you know where we lived in Bexley? If you
Oh,
go up
you're
that
right.
street,
I
and then you
think
go up that street away.
Jim is right.
Siemens lived there.
Yeah, that's what it belonged to the Methodists, the
I
property.
think so, Methodist Church.
And they must have, and you're right, didn't Bill Keith put the spread out?
Yes. It
She
had
put the
something
spread
to do
out
with her.
with her or her son that was passing out. They called
There
graduate.
she is
Birthday
beside,
party or
It had
Yeah,
something to
right.
do with Mahmoud, the son that was
she's right
passing
there
out.
beside Chuck Robb.
something. She's there.
Beside Chuck Robb.
I remember the shindig because.
Yeah.
Oh, see all
There
the
it is.
Indian Pakistani food.
Yeah.
Laddu peda, gulab jamun, very sweet, syrupy can. Oh, ho, ho, ho.
Well, this is
Good
not going
night.
to show up well, so I have to move on. But this is our swimming hole.
Yeah.
And the rocks were terrible down underneath.
But it was the only place the kiddies could really have a fun
Before they
time.
made,
Jim,
Ronald
that's
Lane.
you,
Yeah.
or Doug, right
Yeah,
there.
Doug, down Bog, Doug, and is that James with him? Must be Jim right there.
Yeah, I think so. yeah.
Second chap. It's not one of our boys in the middle back there, do
I'm
they?
just, my head's poking up. I
Yeah,
think.
with arms out.
Same thing.
Man, there are more of them there. Where'd they come from? Oh, and now this is that particular bus, is it not, honey, or is
Yeah.
it a picnic bus?
Where Dad said the tie
I
rod
think the
caved.
tie rod broke.
Yeah, and it rammed into
And our
the hill.
missionaries were on this bus among other local passengers, and the tie rod broke, and right off to the left it's a steep hill going down. Had it been the left front wheel, it would have, who knows? Probably none of these people would have been survived. The Lord just took care of us there.
The missionary party. This is
Yeah.
That place.
See the clothes with the
Is that up
lovely right
near
here, that's what we wore.
that Dennis?
Yes.
That Dennis school? What do
St.
they call it?
Dennis.
St. Dennis School, the Anglican school up there, down below their place, with an outing of some kind. Ho ho! What a
Mary-
beautiful church
Yeah,
the
that's,
Anglicans built.
That's in Abbottabad.
Yeah, right. Abbottabad. But who's in the
I
photograph?
don't know. Can't see them all.
No, these are the pop and slides type,
Yeah, these we go through kind of fast.
because they pop in and out.
Right. Now I didn't know what this
Oh, I'm not sure. That
It
chapel is,
looks like a little chapel up in the mountains.
yeah, is
I
that
think
it?
it's the one at Dunga Gully.
Either that, yeah, it certainly looks like it, doesn't it?
Well, who would have built these? The British?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the British had their little hill station up there. Here's that man's place again, probably right after that picture of the language school.
Okay.
Remember this guy on the far right? He's at King's College now, PhD. Barkat, Samuel Barkat, who's in head of the philosophy department, or dean of students now. He has a very high position at King's College, New York,
Too dark.
the Christian college. And I'm giving the sign above
Uh-huh.
Bill Peach's head, am I? Giving the cobra sign?
See the,
Yes.
did you see the one holding Elizabeth in that? Go
Oh,
back for just
now
a
this,
second,
no, but you don't want to go into that, do you again? Repeat, honey? You wanted to see
the
that.
black Pakistani
You have
man
to
holding
point it
Elizabeth?
out.
He's the
real-
man that did the, there's the baby, there's the cake.
Well, Nur Ahmed, this guy that did the ablutions
Nur
in our
Ahmed
sink,
was doing,
that first cook we had,
yeah, with
dead
Nur
center
Ahmed.
was Nur Ahmed,
is
the
holding
first
her.
dead, yeah, and he was holding Elizabeth, and he did his ablutions in our sink right after we got him. And now, a very famous,
His job.
very famous picture, talking about weddings and second weddings for that matter. This is my,
Finger in the middle?
I need to explain, behind my dad
That's right.
is my brother Wayne, 3 years older than I, at the wedding of his second wife. Wasn't that right? No, this is Roger's wedding, who is behind him.
Sure it is.
That Roger is behind Dad. So those are the three generations. Dad, my brother, and his son behind him, who married a Jewess.
So you
And
got-
where would she be in
you've
this
got
picture?
Grandpa, and then you've
Where-
got Wayne.
Yeah,
And
beside
then far back is Jim.
Uncle Jim that died in Alaska a year or two ago.
Right, and then Dad.
And then myself. No, but where's the Jewish bride of Roger?
I don't think it's the
Or is this
wedding.
not that
It's
wedding
the
then?
wedding,
He looks kind of
it's
young
just-
there. Maybe you were just visiting.
Yeah, that's right. He would not have been married
Right,
then.
well,
But that's
bounce around
and
some more.
but before this is very historic. But before in the last picture, I must mention 'cause I've seen Uncle Wayne a couple times, my brother Wayne, that he was
the
born in
flowers,
Moline,
the black.
Illinois.
with the red flag.
Whereas Jim and I, as brothers,
And her husband
were
is
born in
the
India, but
man
nobody's
that's
getting it with
raised
ladies talking. But my brother Jim was born in Karachi, India,
Okay.
not now Pakistan.
Identify these important people. so
Well,
we
I
can
know,
learn.
but Wayne was born
Don
here in
Bursma, Rachel
Moline,
Steves.
Illinois.
It's
Get
not
that.
Don Bursma.
It got on the tape.
Yes, it is.
Rachel Steve.
Don Bursman,
Olive Karsgaard
Reg-
and Nandy
Dr.
Karsgaard.
Karsgaard,
And she has
George and
Alzheimer's,
Bob
Jim.
Blanchard.
Bob,
No, George
and
McMillan.
Is it really?
Sure.
that is he.
All right, because Bob.
Glenn-
Bob
Glennis
didn't get out for a
McMillan.
while. I have his letter up.
There's Glennis. Well, that's what I couldn't figure
And
out.
I have his
Ann and
letter
Dave.
upstairs to let you
Ann
read.
and David Thompson.
Yeah. Olive Karsgaard has Alzheimer's. She's in an advanced stage of it. It's real bad.
Dear people, dear people, all of them. Ho ho.
Too dark.
Yes, but what a terrific
Too
shot.
dark.
Again, too dark. You have to get them in the
All
shade.
these missionary groups.
All
that come
these
in.
annual conferences.
Right, we're gonna get to one where you can identify.
There you go. Except to the few
Well,
additional.
one
Wonder
more.
what
Dan.
What is,
Well,
wait,
right.
what was David Thompson? No, this is not a missionary guy. David Thompson's doing something there. Holding up in the middle. With Ed Rasmussen and Kuthrow on either side.
I don't
Yeah.
see David Thompson.
He's
To
holding
the
up
right of
this.
Rasmussen.
Not my David.
A red candle?
The
Looks like
bald-headed
a
chap
pencil.
below Mrs.
Might
Ringer,
be a
Elma Ringer.
pencil.
Holding up something, pencils or something. Oh, he's trying to get the kids to
That's when
smile
Christy
maybe or
Wilson
something.
spoke, honey. I'm standing next to Christy
Is Christy
Wilson.
there?
No, David Thompson, he's got his hands up. both of
Yes, that is David
them.
Thompson.
He might be
It's just
praying.
Like a spiritual thing.
Oh, is
that's
it?
all. Yeah.
But he's not preaching. I
He's
thought he
just
was.
praying or something.
That's very
Looks
unusual.
like that end of that.
But Christy Wilson, the
That was
great
praying
doctor,
and
J.
this
Christy
thing
Wilson,
giggling.
born in Iran and built the church in Afghanistan that the national bulldozed down. The only Protestant church in Kabul, Afghanistan, is the chap who was our main speaker looking to the
Wonderful,
side,
wonderful.
next to Mom chuckling away.
And then there's Ann in the front. Thompson.
Mhm.
And Thompson in front of what?
Isn't that she?
Yeah, it's that she in the middle, very
All
middle.
right, well, we're getting to a
We're
bigger
mo-
missionary.
we are, well, you
Now,
missed it. Now, this is the,
language school we gotta
this
do.
is historic. This is back in the language school of 1951, 40 years ago, where Mom and I were in
Hey,
language
Willie
school. And I took
Penfold.
my first year Urdu exam in 6 months.
Check
And
out short pants on the far left.
am I not in
That's
it?
Willie
I don't believe I'm in
Why
it.
aren't
I
you in
must,
it, Dad?
because I took the shot, probably.
Very good. So,
So you
That's
remember
right.
Rafiq is on the far right, blind fella almost going blind.
but now you're in it.
And that's not Samuel Bucket.
Dad, you're in the center. At the back.
Am I? Oh, I am there. So I wasn't a time. In those days, we didn't have timer shots, did we
Right.
either?
So this one you're not in it.
Oh, well, which is the one you showed?
This one.
You showed that and I said I'm not in it?
No,
Or-
Dad, I
oh.
showed this one.
And they're all several nationalities, by the way. These are not,
Picture, okay? Now,
See
some
the
other
man
guy-
yeah, some other guy.
Glasses in
some
front
other
of
guy
the
takes your
board
camera
that
and
says
puts it
Mission.
back in there.
Right,
He
now
taught
these
me
are
the
these
knives,
British
450
chaps.
old dude.
British,
He was such a
Australian, New
tremendous
Zealand,
teacher, Muslim.
and a few maybe Finns and whatnot.
Love him.
But the chap on the far left, honey, reminds me of
Willie
that funny British
Pinfold.
guy
Short pants?
yeah, the short pants British guy on the far left reminds you of that real funny PBS show at night used to
Yeah,
come on.
yeah, and-
Ran that motel, Faulty Towers.
John, please.
Oh, that guy is, I really, oh, now here's your shot. Wow.
Not yet, you're just gathering.
Look at Ginger Lundgren. You didn't see her dancing there. See her putting on a show here in black? Ginger Lundgren.
Inga Gardner's up there, Jim.
Inger in the middle.
Well, we're gonna see more. We're
Well, how
gonna
many
see
of
one
these?
missionary photo.
Wow. Wow, what a shot. This is at the height of our breeding sessions. Look at all the kids there.
Karen Wanda.
I mean, there's Paul from right to left. Paul Lundgren. You don't say his name. I have to explain. You don't pronounce his name the way we pronounce it. That's right, but don't say it with the Pakistanis around.
Yeah,
And the old chap,
I think he actually.
Gene
was sitting on
Soderman,
the
Marianne
back of that
Sorensen
big-
now in our office up here, and Inga Gardner, Ed Rasmussen, been chairman now a couple of years, still out there, Chuck Burton, and what was the name of the folks didn't come back for a while there, honey? Next to
Rings.
Burton? Rings? Oh, yeah.
Rings. The girl.
Oh,
with
there
the
you
green
get
sweater
Blanchard,
is
and man, I
Alice
haven't seen his
somebody or
picture.
Now that's Bob.
That is
Gold
Bob
and
Blanchard between the ring and Irv Nygren. No,
Oh, Nygren, that's who I couldn't
that's,
remember.
yeah, and he's just been, you know, he had the International Church in
Who's
Pindi.
between Irv and, is that Thompson? on
That's
the end?
David Thompson on the far left.
And I can't see.
Russ
who-
Irwin is in between.
Ru-
them.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then coming down, there's somebody, and then is that Vern?
Bill Peach.
Vern, Bill
Rock,
Peach, Vern, Bill Dalton.
Bill Dalton.
These are families, by the way, the Daltons and the Rasmussens and Cuthros who have kids out there now, several sometimes, and their family is
Niagara.
returning-
In the middle?
George the Ganja Nanga Parbat fellow, the naked mountain top, bald head. He is George. And who's the lady next to him?
And then
And
Barbara.
Oh.
And Eunice. Rachel.
Eunice and
me,
Rachel.
Marge.
Mom is there. See, we're more, if we're paired off, we're
Is
usually
that
the
Don
ladies in
DeHart?
front of the
No,
gentlemen.
Don Stoddard.
Is that David?
Jim.
Yeah. No,
Is it
you're
David? No, it is David.
It is.
I
Yeah.
think it's David, because this is a later on.
Oh, these are the pre-kids, preschool kids, that's
Yeah.
why. The school kids aren't in there, they're married probably. That conference was always held in October during the,
Stoddard?
yes, yeah. Then
Stoddard.
Little Gene Stoddard's going out there now again. He's been out several times, great linguist fella. And
That's
Ruth,
most of them.
that's it, those are the kidlets. Very good shot. Oh, I took it. Nanga Parbat's not in the back. This was, the last shot was in Mansehra at the Dak Bangla conference. This one is in Nathigali, where we usually
I don't have
held
any
it.
kids in
And-
that
Most of
one.
the same people except Cuthrell's here on the far right.
And the only native is the one with the Pakistani hat, brown colored, and choga.
Yeah,
coat.
Full choga, while all the other people.
Yeah, right. They're trying to be themselves. Oh, dear Uncle Olin. What a sweet man. Uncle Olin Shute. And his
The
wife,
ring that I
Theresa.
wear for my engagement ring.
Oh, honey, you go
Isn't
on.
that
This is all
tremendous?
moms.
This is a man that led me to the Lord and discipled me and helped me. And
Dear, dear man, about 100 years old now. Oh my, what a sweet man. I don't know this couple, honey. I think they were neighbors of Anzalma. Now, you know who this is, Jim.
That's not Preacher Taylor. is it?
Wag.
No, we
Oh,
just
Wag?
had Taylor.
I'm always thinking, here's Wag.
And he had a railroad going by within 50 feet of his house, and man, that thing would shake. He was a YMCA
that's
worker in
Clara,
Jamestown, New
Mary,
York, but
and
was
preacher.
from Ohio, and he won many young fellows to the Lord in his ministry. Just a, great man of God.
I
Who's
didn't
the
know who
lady?
this was.
I don't know this lady at all.
All right, well, we'll move on then.
She probably was a foreigner in our hospital. And you see his sign up there? This is my Uncle Wayne, Dad's brother. Dad was the eldest of 3 brothers. He had 6 half-sisters. Later, and Grandpa Thompson had died, whom I never met. But this is my Uncle Wayne, a great lawyer. He used to send us out a check, and somebody signed it, and he used to send about $100. This was in the old days.
Salty dad.
Yeah, but he,
Bill?
let me
That's
tell you,
Uncle
some guy
Howard.
signed his check out there, and we didn't get the money till Uncle Wayne sent it.
That's not Uncle Howard.
I don't know. This is no relative at all. This is
Oh, just some
some.
guy.
I
This
bet I know who
is
that is. He
who?
might have been that fellow who told our David about snakes.
No,
Remember?
this is Mr. Barr.
Yeah, it's a guy there in Portsmouth. Oh, we
Betty
missed that
Bart's
other slide.
father.
Moving on.
Who's the smiling, pious preacher on the right? This
I don't
little.
know.
Oh, these were some people.
Oh, I remember that guy.
Yeah.
We're moving on.
Remember the top of the how he used to wrap it?
Farm scene.
But this is not Moline, I believe. I mean, back where. Oh, a terrific
Okay,
close-up.
Now we're starting a new category. These are the
This is now you
This
get.
is the ministry category.
Have you explained Anna the location geographically of the stations? The red area covered our Hazara district with maybe a million people, and then it gradually, that red is expanded geographically to cover areas that have become part of Pakistan, and also under the agreement among missions where you work, it's also expanded. All the way from down to.
So what I try to do here is
Yeah.
take you from the start of your ministry. I just put Grace Baptist in.
Yeah, because Gene
Here's
Hampton
Mom, outside the China Inland Mission.
This is on our
Right.
way out the first time.
and the guy wanted to know over the radio telephone when I
See,
asked
I
for
was
a cab.
expecting there. was
He
she
said,
warm up
I'd
later."
like to have you send a cab up here to the China Inland Mission. He said, what kind of commission? And it was
Bon
enough,
Voyage,
right?
which I think this is, what would this be from Grace maybe?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
who knows?
When we sailed on the
there
Cilicia.
we are.
Only we arrived in Karachi when this shot was taken with a Methodist pastor probably, with Grandpa meeting us in the town he had served many
This
years.
is the farewell thing.
From
We
the
came
front,
to see
yeah,
off the
we
ship.
got enough for what, honey? From the handshakes.
Oh yeah, that was another wonderful
Blessing.
It was
Yeah.
the first time.
That's right. That was before our family came
Second
along.
time, though, it was this time.
And the
United States, we came back on that from England.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to put these in order because.
Yeah.
It's all right.
No.
The Anchor Line's a beautiful little
Was
ship.
that the Cilicia?
Cilicia,
Cilicia.
Circassia, or what was the other one?
I don't know which ship this was.
It's just Circassia and Circassia. No.
Now here's a shot I thought you'd like. Dan.
Yeah, you didn't know the chips could go in the
Going
sand.
to Suez.
That's the actual Suez Canal. Yeah.
Okay, now we're
on
going
to
to see
President
Jim.
Wilson.
Fire
him up
grill,
there?
whatever you call it on board ship.
The center.
Do we see Elizabeth
And
in
there's
the dark
Elizabeth
glasses on the
with
left,
dark
toward the
glasses
left?
and Doug behind her. Where's Jim? There he is.
Is Jim is
My
there?
head's kind of looking down.
Oh yeah.
Elizabeth's hair is blowing across her face just like Bob's.
Oh,
President Wilson.
very good.
This
And
is the last time we
this
came.
was not
Yeah,
when.
these are our boat.
That's not when that Vietnam general was on the ship.
Is it not that?
This
Sure
is because now this is going back to when we arrived. This was our welcome sign. January 90.
Outside of what
51.
1024 Wild Road.
Abtabat. And you know them all. Oh boy. This is the wind-up sunset shot.
Welcome Thompson's. This is not the wind-up.
Oh, now the Hans are there.
Right.
You showed this the other night.
Right. Well,
On a different location, that's right. Ina Volson's there. Hadn't mingled in the group as you had the other shot. You could hardly tell him.
oh, this is a dupe.
I love this picture.
Yeah. The old chap
Kinda likes this
Yeah.
picture.
given the word.
It's like
You know, the among all
preaching in the temple.
Given the word. That's the whole idea.
Oh,
Glory.
it is the-
Glory shot of a typical
I love
missionary
this
before he became native.
Recognize it.
Mansetta Wall. And remember Feldman on the far left?
He's 2 miles from here.
No kidding. Still?
His church is on La Fox.
Do you know that his daughter is our, what do you call those x-ray machines scanning things?
Radiotherapy.
Technicians.
Well, no, but it's a special.
She does the baby thing.
What do you call that?
ultrasound.
Where you look at it and it's
Ultrasound.
going on, yes. She's in our Oasis Hospital in the Gulf, Kennedy.
Or these are just in the
These are
general
Khan's,
category.
yeah, Khan general shots. Big
Well,
shots up in Oogie, and
Yeah,
this is up Gilgit way, though. These are Gilgity fellas.
these are in the general category of sort of missionary.
Yeah,
field
making contacts
type thing.
among the Khans. You get that?
Like the pond
An Indian
village.
village, typical of what, yeah. Very, very good village scenes, and the old famous
Now
Carl
this
Davis.
Right, with the PA system.
PA
the
modern-
must have been pretty fancy.
Oh boy, that one. Then we got rocks thrown at us. We would carry this with a sidecar and his big Harley Davidson, and he taught me how to drive, and I drove 1 mile an hour.
I put this in for the ladies. I mean, because there aren't too many shots of Pakistani women.
That's right.
You know, I think this is Bararcoat.
That could be Mom, their ministry.
Now here you are, Dad. What's the river?
We're back where the Abbasin, that first one you asked me about, Father Indus. and
the slide says we
it-
crossed
this-
on this boat.
Yeah, that's right. And it was in the, now it's all underwater with that earth-filled dam. You remember that single shot of me alone?
There's Dad
The
with
umbrella with Jahan Zeb Khan and Jensi Nivolson.
I thought that was a classic.
Yeah, because the umbrella shades you as well as rain, and then partially you fight out dogs.
Mostly fight out.
Well, no, but umbrellas don't last fighting them, you know, obviously. But
Dad, where is this?
this is before I had to be carried down the mountain from Tundiani by Paul
Very
Lundgren.
good, Dad.
Paul Lundgren had to carry me down.
Very good.
Does that go?
Tundiani.
It's Tundiani going toward those other Cooks places. Remember the Cooks that that lived near there, related to Khan Zaman, all those guys. But one of our missionaries had, oh, good old Dad pointing. He taught me the pointing thing. Boy, it must have been hot, the old buck style there. That's more like a Doug shot. Now there's a classic, typical missionary.
Yeah.
One-on-one with a little tea and buns. Now remember I told you the story, Jim? Tell it.
Well, this little kid had osteomyelitis. And
Right.
treating this child opened up the whole area to the guy.
Exactly. To this goeth on no Christians whatsoever in this area. First time any missionaries had ever been there. There's Bararcoat now, honey. You're talking about. A little clinic. Jack Ringer, a dear man that served God so faithfully many years in the frontier among the tribesmen. You missed the fort shot in the background.
Okay, we're playing
But
checkers here.
Notice how the huts are layered, and the roof of one's the courtyard of another. Right on the road. This is all paved road now going.
I think
Oh,
we're gonna have to wind up this tape. I have to change tapes here, but what?
oh.
The belly button. Dad.
His hand, I want you to know, his left hand is folded back toward him. Toward him, that's his hand. It's not anywhere strategic areas.
Looks like
His right hand, I think, is daubing this perfume. Because as a Khan, he wouldn't give me a massage. He'd let his servants give me a good, you know, full body massage after a hard trek.
This is David's favorite. All right, we're gonna pause here because I have to switch tapes.
Oh, beautiful. What a
Breather.
positive. Well, hold it here while
I
you
don't know,
switch.
Jim. I'm gonna have to go to bed. I'm sitting here.
Yeah, Mom is
I
extracting.
don't want to
This
give
is the
up.
perfect place to stop.
It
All right,
is? Well,
let's
then
stop.
may we
I gotta
continue?
change the tape.
Uh,
No, I'm not changing.
I mean, let's continue
We're
later
halfway
then.
through. Right, tomorrow we'll pick it up.
Good. So comments
am-
are still on?
I know it. I'm so
Mom,
tired.
see, Mom, these are not ours for Mom, and she's still been going
No, this is
lickety
the
split.
perfect place to stop. I think
Good.
we'll
Good,
change.
good. Let's do that because I'm loving it. But
Yeah, but she physically is just gone.
when I start to go to sleep at night, nothing keeps me awake. Ask your dad.